debate, uncut and after show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a very warm shout out to our first and foremost newest member on the level, also Thomas van der Zander, Cannabear, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Mr. Amish, Sensual Goat, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, the name's Burley, Twodwazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMelds24, Unamento, Iron26, Endless, Golden McKiernan, Retro Bill, Level Plain Poem, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Chow Yun Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Also, they get, the opportunity to talk, and people engage in conversation rather than just what cancelling what they say if they make a claim or whatnot.
Yeah. Good morning, Nathan.
Morning.
Good morning.
Do you want us to cover this 5 shocking beliefs of flat earthers, Sensual Goat?
Whichever, unless you've got something else planned up. They're just there because you haven't got anything to do.
It's you that shared this though, right?
Correct.
Okay. Have you watched it? It's only 5 minutes long, so I assume you have.
Yeah, it's a typical stuff. But it's 38k following, new video, not many comments. But if you're struggling for content, there's something there.
I'm never struggling for content, mate.
Especially not nowadays. How about Matthew Lears turning up on Friday? That was beautiful, out of the blue. I reckon because you mentioned him in the Mr. Anderson episode recently, maybe that triggered him to come back in.
He does periodically drop in and out. I just never notice. QE's a lot more observant of what's going on in the Discord server than I am. So he just happened to notice that Matthew Learns was there. I didn't notice.
Right. So he was being a voyeur originally, then he was called out and brought to the forefront.
Yeah, and now it seems like his pain is ever increasing. But I'll give him credit where it's due. While he'll try and deceive his way around the subject like all of them do, when it comes to a point of non-concession, he doesn't just choose to rumpus to avoid that concession. He will make the concession. We've got several clips of him saying, well, yes, it is flat, and giving the reason why based on his own justification that he's had to try and weasel into being a sphere claim with aspects of flat earth measurements that he can't deny. So he doesn't. Now others don't do that. They will get to that point and go, the most devastating thing I can do now is admit that it's measured flat. So I'll re-ask a question. I'll start the process over. I'll tell the person that's telling me this, that's got me to this stage, that they don't understand. Things like that. Matthew Lence does not seem to do that. I mean, it's not to his credit, because as soon as he does, I say, well, that proves that you've been deceiving us with the other garbage you've said. Therefore, I want your resignation as a teacher. Why are you teaching kids? Can't demonstrate your deceit, admit to it, concede to your opponent's position, and then say, oh yeah, but that's all right. What, that you've just been deceiving us for the last hour and a half until we've led you to the point where you have to concede your deceit. How is that reasonable? How is that somebody that should be in charge of kids? It's not.
Go ahead,
Nathan,
Jardo.
do you mind if I say something?
Yeah. Go ahead, Jardo.
Look, I'm not sure whether I just want to get this out of the way before people join. But I just want to say, just in relation to the politics discourse with Matthew Lence, look, I know that he come on and pretty much wasted 2 hours of your time and acted like a dick and led everyone up the garden path. But as a supporter of your show financially and emotionally and sharing your show, the one thing that you said I can't condone, and that was that you called to people to go to his employer to let them know that he shouldn't be teaching or he shouldn't be employed by that particular institution. I can't
Can I just say
condone
some
that.
Jardo, something?
And sorry?
I think that's more in jest because
No,
they
no, no.
used to
It's
do
not.
that to
It's
us.
not. Let him make his
No.
point. Go ahead, Jardo.
No, I need to make this before more people join, because I have been a supporter of Nathan since his first video, and I can't continue to support Nathan and share his. What I've accepted is that Nathan is going to be my representative as a flat earther, because I can't do it. I didn't have the time, so I support him financially and emotionally, and I share his content, especially when he's changed his content recently. But to call on someone, to call on people to go to someone's employer, no matter what you think of them, I can't condone that. It was actually disrespectful. And in the comments of that show, there was someone doing the same in relation to Adam, in saying that people should go to his body corporate and advise them that he shouldn't be a pharmacist. And what I'm trying to say is that I'm trying to defend Adam with this particular person, and then you say the same thing to Matthew Lence in relation to his employer. So how can I defend Adam when you say that? And if you do it again, I have to pull my support from you. I just wanted to get that out of the way before people joined.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Jado, I don't think that's a good comparison that you just made with Adam Meakin. Imagine if Adam Meakin was giving children some, let's say, like Ritalin or something like that, instead of antibiotics, and he kept doing it, and he kept lying to the parents that he's giving them antibiotics, but he's actually giving them speed or some shit like that. That would be like that. Because what Matthew Lawrence is doing is a child abuse, in my book.
Okay, right. I'm just going to agree with Jardo in this regard because he's made his point quite clear. What he's not looking for is for me to justify my reasoning behind my position. He's looking at the overall sentiment and saying, as an overall sentiment, regardless of how well or badly you can justify or not justify that position, or however much passion you've got for taking that position, it comes across to me as follows, and he's explained that. Now, I can't ignore that, and it would be disrespectful if I now try and justify my position to Jardo, because, frankly, he's not going to care how I justify it. He's just going to view it from a broad spectrum. You going after someone's job because you see that them being an educator and being deceitful in their practices around us isn't justified in Jardo's mind, and he's made that very clear. I can only thank him and say, good job you tell me this stuff. Number one, I will do that first and foremost. Thank you for telling me. Right, I said this before and I'll say it again. I am so privileged to be in a group that is so passionate about me and what I do that when I do something that displeases them, they'll tell me. Now, if a Ford does something that displeases you, you don't go back to the head of Ford and tell him, this is the reason I'm going to potentially go and buy a Chevy. You just go and buy a Chevy. And Ford are unfortunate, unlike me, to not find out why you didn't rebuy a Ford because of the squeaky chair that never got fixed. Jardo saying, this is a squeaky chair. Fix it, or I'll buy a Chevy. That's it. That's what he's saying. I can't justify my position to him. If I did, he'd probably get more irate or annoyed with me. Not irate, that's the wrong word. It would leave a bitter taste in his mouth. I'm speaking for you, Jardo. Hopefully you confirm what I'm saying. If I even attempted to justify my position after what he said. I appreciate you doing it on my behalf and attempting to, but that really isn't appropriate, shall we say?
Can I say something on the matter?
Yeah.
There's two things. One thing will not back you up, Nathan, because I don't agree. I don't see the point in bringing up someone's job, right? I know Matthew Lawrence is a lawyer, but if I had the opportunity, I won't go into it. But does he teach, when he's teaching, does he teach kids incorrect things mathematically? Chances are he doesn't. Just like when I held Charles Globert Math 2 task on it, he wouldn't give me an answer. When I asked him the same thing, do you teach kids that a zenith angle doesn't require a horizontal? He wouldn't give me any answer because he knew that there was no answer he could give me that would help him. If he said he doesn't, it means what he's saying now is completely, he doesn't even fully believe. If he's saying it doesn't require a horizontal, and if he's saying he does, then he's admitting he's teaching kids things that are wrong. Point being is that it doesn't matter. I understand Matthew Lawrence doing what he does as a job is annoying. I get that, right? But I just don't see any point in bringing up someone's employment. I just don't see the point of that.
Fair enough.
But in fairness, you didn't ask people to go after his job. If I remember correctly, you asked him to resign, as opposed to asking people to go after his position.
I said appeal to this man's employment status after asking him to resign, which was carefully phrased, but I don't want to bandy words to make it. If I go along with what you've just said, again, I'm not doing this just because it's all hail Jardo, yeah. But he's been so respectful in the way he's presented his opinion. By doing that, by going along with that, it's almost like I'm attempting to justify it. Now, for anybody who's thinking, why isn't he justifying it? I have justified why I would go and take that line of reasoning and attitude towards teachers. I'm not going to do it now, for obvious reasons. But I've justified that many times. I'm sure Jardo has heard me. Therefore, I can automatically assume when he prefaces it by, I've been watching every show, that's his way of saying, I already know this man's justification for doing so. Right, Jardo? If he's still here, he might have disappeared. Anyway, yes. Again, I'm very grateful to people, especially Brian's most even-handed of semi-justification and semi-condemnment. Very even-handed, Brian.
Well, say something, Nathan?
Go on,
right. So just quickly, if you do it in jest, then everybody wins. Because if you say it without really meaning it, there's no real consequences, but you get to say what you want to say at the same time.
That's
just make
the
a joke out of it.
I can't, because I did and do and would mean it. Yeah?
Yeah, we'll find a way to put it into a joke.
Right.
That's the problem. I don't see it as a joke. That's the problem. I can't make it into a joke. I see it as the most... I'm bordering on justifying it again, and I don't want to do that.
We can't become our opposition. We can't become our enemy.
Yeah, don't become the monster you're fighting.
That was their tactics years ago.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Exactly. I'm just agreeing because whenever you say something, the reason I interrupt you half the time, Brian, is because I agree 100% with what you're saying, and I want to be the one saying it. I'm really sorry.
No worries. You go ahead. You know the sentiment.
Don't become the monster that you're fighting. When they did it to Brian Mullen, I'm sure if we were to quiz them, they would justify it just like I could justify it. Now, it doesn't matter that one is in the right as an argument, flat earth, and one is in the wrong and deluded and punting more misapprehensions of their own to justify it. It's irrelevant. You know, the sentiment is, don't become the monster that you're trying to fight against. And in my mind, I'm not, because I've got justifications that are valid. It doesn't matter if the sentiment of the audience is, that leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. It's like, okay, well then no amount of justification will overcome the fact that that is, in the eyes of the audience, me becoming the monster I'm fighting against. I'd rather hear it. Yeah? I'm not shy to admit what I justify and what I don't. But ultimately, I'm a YouTuber. I want to keep people on my side. So that's something, you know, it's not like I must do that. I can take a rain check on certain things that I have as an attitude towards certain individuals, in this case, very specifically teachers.
Well, the thing about it is, if you listen to that show from the politics, I bring up his credentials, and that's okay. I think that's fine. If someone has got the credentials of a PhD level mathematician and works for a university, and they're saying that zenith angles don't require horizontal, or they're denying the zenith angles are confined to 90 degrees, then I absolutely will bring up that person is a claimed PhD level mathematician working for a university. But I'm not going after their job. I'm just pointing out that this is that person's credentials, and they're claiming this thing which is completely wrong, and they know it. I have no problem with that. If anyone has a problem with me for saying that, I don't care. I have no problem with that. But going after the job is pointless because we don't need it. We don't need to do that.
Yeah, what would it actually achieve? Yeah, I agree. Do you want to add something, Jardo?
Yeah, sorry, my microphone was sticking before, but just in relation to the way I see it and the way I've seen it since you've run this flat Earth debate is it is a debate show. You're asking people to present claims of X, so claims of a globe or whatever. So someone presents a claim, we are here to table the claim and rebut it with logic and facts. Or if we can't rebut it with logic and facts, we table it until another time. And if we have a claim, we table our claim, logic and facts. And it has nothing to do with a person's employment. It's got nothing to do with a person's private life. And like what's happened previously with Brian Mullins, we don't want to be the enemy that we're fighting against. That's the way I see it. It's just purely and simply in relation to debate. It's about ascertaining whether or not you have the proof of your claim and the logic to defend your claim and or rebut someone else's claim. And that's it. That's the way it should be. We shouldn't enter into the personal. It's an area where I think we shouldn't go. That's the reason why I've been supporting you for a long time. And it was just a crossing the line for me.
No, fair enough. Well, with that in mind, I've delisted the trimmed out version, so I will leave it buried in one of thousands of live streams. So if somebody happens across it, then so be it. But what I had done was trimmed it out with that sentiment. I've also done shorts videos that don't include that sentiment, but the one that did, I've just delisted or made unlisted. So yeah, I've removed that video.
There's no taking back the past. What's happened has happened. All we can do is in the future take a clearer path.
No, but by the same token, I can proactively remove a video that's an individual video marked with his name that specifically has a call to action to have his job, or me calling for his resignation more specifically. Well, that video I can just immediately make delisted. It's not that precious to me, the video.
Also, Jardo, when you've had your time wasted for 2 hours with someone being wriggly and squirmy, they bring the lowest out of you. And so if it was to happen again in the future, I don't think it's because Nathan is directly defying what you're asking for, which is logical. It's just because things happen in a moment after 2 hours of talking to someone that's disingenuous. It's hard not to get personal. That's where
you're right and you're wrong. That's the expectation, though, isn't it? Again, that's a justification. Well, I was really tired and angry because he'd worn me out being a belligerent prick and lying through his back teeth for 2 hours. Therefore, when it got to the point of concession, I was so angry I wanted his job. Number one, that's a pretty crap justification. I didn't give it. But it doesn't change the sentiment. It doesn't change it one bit. And ultimately speaking, I think Jardo's right. Upon reflection, and your point's still valid, by the way, because that is why we get angry, right? That is going to be the ultimate justification for any losing of your temper with somebody who's, in this case, it's my emotions. Most of the time when I'm like, why are you getting so uppity or angry when people perceive it that way? It's like, I'll just put it on, over dramatising it. As soon as the show's finished, completely switched off, I go back to normal. Yeah? Where in that instance, that's not true. That's why I stopped you so quickly, because you're like, well, he's joking. No, I'm actually led by my emotions, and I shouldn't be. I think that's the main point I'm going to take away from this. It's like, you can't let your emotions lead you. Yes, I'm very passionate about what teachers teach our kids. That's personal. Do it on a separate channel, whatever. That's nothing to do with what I do and cover. It's my emotions taking over. For whatever perceivably maybe justifiable reasoning, it isn't, is it, ultimately? So, yeah. But it is one of those last things, you've got to have it identified, because sometimes I am led by my emotions. Everybody is at some point, and until someone points that out to you, you reflect on what you're doing and going, I'm doing a really good job, I'm really, even-handed in terms of how I deal with it. I'll be angry when it's justified, and obviously justified. But when it comes to something like this, you think, yeah, I am absolutely justified. Well, why are you absolutely justified? Well, because I'm passionate about it, really passionate about it. So you're letting your emotions lead you then. You're like, what can I say then? At that point, it's like, yes, you are. You would admit to it readily, so just don't. Takes a bit of discipline, takes a bit of self-control. Obviously, it's embarrassing when someone points that out, because you have to recognize your own lack of self-control.
Do you know the difference between measurements and calculation, Nathan?
Yes.
How is possible the professor of the math doesn't know that?
He's slippery.
Well, it's just about
because he's got a globe belief. Go ahead, I'm going to make a coffee. Go ahead.
Yeah, just let me preface something.
That's like for me, baker. If somebody asks me, what is the difference to put the yeast on the dough and to not put yeast in the dough? And I say, I don't know.
Yeah, but see, this is the thing, right? What we have to remember is this. When Wolfie 6020, for example, spent years trying to say that the Earth was a globe, right? Every time he went to work, he had to make a point of doing what he had to do in that airplane, which means he couldn't bring his beliefs into it. He couldn't be trying to correct for Earth curve because it's not there. That would cause him to crash. So when he gets into that plane, he has to just fly the plane over a flat Earth, because that's the only thing he can do, regardless of what his beliefs are. If we take that into math, with Charles Glober math, right? What I did is he was making the same claim that Matthew Lawrence was making concerning zenith angles, and I asked him. I said, Charles, do you teach that to the children you teach? Or when you were teaching geometry, did you teach the children that? And he wouldn't answer me, because he knew he didn't. He didn't teach the children that. And Matthew Lawrence doesn't teach the children the nonsense he was spouting the other day, because that's their beliefs. But when they go to work, they have to do their job. So there's no way Matthew Lawrence is going to teach children that 90 degrees has nothing to do with a zenith angle, because he can't do that, because he knows that that's outside of the curriculum, if you understand what I mean. So these people will come into us and make these crazy claims, and we'll be thinking to ourselves, sorry, someone's off mute there. We'll be thinking to ourselves, how can these people work as a pilot or an engineer or a mathematician or whatever, a teacher? But in reality, when they go to do their job, they have to do their job and stick to the rules of that job. So it doesn't matter what their beliefs are, because there's no way. I could say, basically, I can't read his mind, but I'd say there's a 95% chance that Matthew Lawrence is not teaching children that a zenith angle does not require 90 degrees, or is not withholding to 90 degrees, and doesn't require a horizontal, because he just knows that's wrong. He can't be teaching children that. But when he comes in here, he'll spout that rubbish, because that's his belief. So we must remember that when these people are saying what they're saying.
But you must know the Matthew Lawrence. You said you know him. He is like a 4 years. I was listening to him from 24/7, and they presented to him all arguments. And Matthew is like this. Whatever you presented to him, he said he will believe in globe. Practically, he said one time he will believe in the flat earth only if they said on CNN news and NASA admit we were wrong. You know, that will be for Matthew learns proof for the flat earth. Nothing else.
Yeah.
Only if mainstream, how to say, pronounce that's the truth.
I've heard worse sentiment. People saying that even if the NASA astronaut themselves told them that they hadn't been to the moon, they would still believe that they'd been to the moon.
Yeah.
No, Nathan, but I'm saying practically that in every news, every mainstream will cover this, and then because then news are saying, you cannot now, and then Matthew will say, okay, if news are saying that must be true, That was his life, because he said, I believe in globe, whatever you present.
But a lot of these people are unhappy that they've been shown to be wrong and proven to be wrong. So I would see someone like Matthew Lawrence as someone who's willing to just go against anything we say because he doesn't want to have to admit to himself that he's wrong. So he'd rather annoy us and troll us and fight against us than just admit to himself that he was wrong and we were right. He just doesn't want to do that. How many of the opposition in all the flat earthers here, how many times in your flat earth career, let's call it, have you been given a concession for the opposite side? I'm 9 years now, and I can count a concession maybe twice.
Well, you could count them on one hand, yeah.
Yeah.
Matthew, they was calling him Glober, but Matthew became anti-flat earther totally. Even he's the best example of that.
Exactly. And what's an anti-flat earther? Someone who knows they're wrong. Someone who knows we're right. But they just will not admit it. And they'd rather just fight tooth and nail against us than accept the truth. That's what they are.
Well, Nathan, you got your constructive criticism where you went wrong in the debate, but it's also fair you received your fair praise, and you got several concessions out of him and made him look a fool. So well done.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's a mixed bag. I can't stress how grateful I am for criticism like that from Jardot. Like I say, I know from being in sales how dedicated your fan base has got to be, if you will, your customer base in that case, to turn around and tell you where they feel you're doing something wrong. And most people don't value it either. They get it and they don't value it. They brace against it.
Yeah,
my nan told me recently that she got back from the hotel on holiday and it was dreadful. I said, well, why don't you ring them and tell them and complain about all the things you didn't like? She goes, oh, no. So I'd rather do it over the internet where no one can. And she was asking if her sister could see it, if she left a comment where she could leave a review without her sister seeing it. So.
Right. So she's never going to go back because she's now left a terrible review and wouldn't want to, face the person that she's written a terrible review and publicise the fact online. But if she'd approached him, I'm sure he'd have been maybe put out that she was complaining. Oh, another complaining guest. Yeah?
Yeah, if you tell them what they do right, they're more open to hearing what they've done wrong.
Yeah.
Change the subject.
Yeah, feel free.
If anybody's in the Discord chat, I just posted a whole heap of photos from Antarctica from a work colleague of mine that has been there 8 times, 3 times spring to spring, working as an electrical engineer. Some beautiful photos. In his words, there never was a 24-hour sun. There was always an arc to arc, sunrise to sunset, but an illumination of light for 24 hours. but they would never know because most of the time for the 3 weeks in the middle of summer, they were housed only unless you were on call on the gen set. But even then, you were still indoors. But yeah, feel free to have a look.
Cool. Any chance someone can stick that in Master B so I can have a look? Fascinating. Yeah, sounds similar to Robert Shortman's testimony, eh? When you really try and peg them on what the sun does, they're hard pushed to because they're not out there looking at it. But in Robert Shortman's words, well, I think I'd have noticed if it was going behind my head. But from what I can remember, it came up and went down, and the arc was wider and higher in the summer than it was in the winter, where it stayed low and hugged the horizon and went down sooner and it got darker. But that was his general account of what the sun did. Flat Earth Ranger, you're hot micing.
That's exactly what Eddie Banjo, what he was showing with that American military guy in Antarctica on the 21st of December. The sun just did an arc in the sky, and then when it reached the horizon, it was just all red and all that, as you'd expect, just like any late in the evening horizon. But right around behind them was pitch dark.
Yeah, might be reasonably bright for. I know times when it's been like 10:30 and it's just starting to get really dark. When I was out delivering, because I was out on a van at late periods, we finished the last shift at something like 11 o'clock. So in the height of summer, you could still be out in your night shift in the day. Or at the very, maybe not in the day, in twilight. You can still see the glow on the horizon. And it's not completely dark. And you go, okay, well, it doesn't mean that because it's nice and bright and I can still see where I'm going and I'm not going to trip on any pavements, that it's a 24-hour sun situation. It's just the day's really, really long. You've got a lot of sun throughout the day. But we're just not far enough north to have it up above the horizon the entire time. And from what I can glean from the people who've spoken about Antarctica, the sun does exactly the same, or roughly what I would describe it doing here in England. There's a nice big wide vector that fills a good proportion of a 360-degree rotation, but not all of it at the height of summer. And then it stays very low and hugs the horizon in the winter. The sun, that is.
Well, it doesn't even do that in Antarctica, from what I saw. It doesn't even do that. It doesn't even stay, because of the path of the sun is only going past that point, if you understand. It's only going past that point briefly, whatever point they're at. Whereas in your situation, you are north of 23.4 degrees, whereas they're south of 23.4 degrees south. So you're experiencing the experience of someone in Antarctica, whatever the hell Antarctica is. But that if we assume a place you can go to that's 90 degrees south or 80 degrees south, then what they're actually seeing and what I saw on the videos is a sun come up and then go back down. And that's it. And it's always to the north. It's never east, west, south. It's just to the north. Do you know what I mean? You're always seeing it pass to your north, and that's it. And it never passes to your south, ever. And it was pitch dark behind. There's no way it can be pitch dark behind somebody on the 21st of December in Antarctica if we were on a globe. It just wouldn't be possible. But this was, black dark. There was no light. The sun was obviously after just setting off over there. That's not a 24-hour sun. There's no sunrise and sunset. 24-hour sun is 24 hours of sun. Go to northern Norway. That's what you see. 24 hours of sun.
Yeah, with hints of it as you get further south. So for us, you can see the inference of how it could, if you went further north, go all the way around you. If you observe it, very few people do. But I'm forever pointing out to my kids, look at where it's coming up today, look at where it's going down, look at the path it's going through, look how high it is now in the middle of summer. See how much higher it is above us? Yeah, see how much further over there it goes down? So I'm constantly keeping an eye on it so I can make the kids pay attention to it. Not that I wasn't anyway. But like I say, it's very easy to say, okay, right, I understand. it takes this very low arc in the winter, and then the vector that you're perceiving is you being lower than the point that it can be obscured because it's into the distance beyond where you could perceive it. In other words, daylight's over there, right? But if you were high enough and it had a tight enough radial circuit, that's presumably, that's the only thing you can describe. It is apparent in the north. Thanks for the photos, by the way, putting them up. Brilliant.
Well, you can't not.
Yeah,
see
it's
it
taking
in
a
the
little
north.
bit. I can't do all of them at the same time, so it's one by one. So another couple of minutes, I'll be over.
Right, go ahead, Brian.
I'm saying that if you're north, let's say heading for 90 degrees north, you can't not see a 24-hour sun at this time of year. You can't
Yes.
not, because you're within the circle. But if you're south of 23.4 degrees, then you're south of the circle. You're outside the circle. So if you're south of the Tropic of Capricorn, then you're outside the circle. And that's exactly what is shown in Antarctica in their summer. That's exactly what was in the video. And I saw a couple of other videos similar over the years. Exactly what Robert Shortman described. It's exactly what happens. The sun does come up as well on the 21st of June. It just only comes up, it only appears for a couple of hours and disappears again. 11:30 to 1:30 in the day or something, which makes sense. But all it is appearing for a bit longer in their southern summer. So it might come up in the morning time and go down in the evening time.
Aww.
And that's it.
Oh, a load of male penguins sat on their eggs in a big huddle. Or these are great. Robert Shurtman didn't have anything like this. He's like, here's a picture of a narrow alleyway between this particular bit of equipment and this other. Look at the size of the icicles on this tunnel. I mean, don't get me wrong, he had a couple of pictures that are like this, but nothing as glorious as this. This is fantastic. Wow. These are in Master B if you wanted to see him, guys, in G+. The Aurora Australis as well. Wow. I got to see that recently. Aurora Borealis here in the UK. Very cool, very cool.
Good morning,
Good
everyone.
afternoon.
Hello.
Hello, guys. How you doing?
Hello. Hello, hello, hello. So in the pre-show, I came under a little bit of criticism. Well, a fairly high degree of criticism in regards to my appeal for Matthew's resignation. And it's pointed out to me that this shouldn't be about what people do, how they work, who they're employed by, anything else non-related, sexual orientation, things of that nature, shouldn't be an issue. We should just deal with the raw facts. If somebody's doing something that you personally find so egregious that you want to express it, do it on your, let's call it, own time. I know this is my show, but it isn't. It's a cumulative effort from lots of people who put their input in. So I'll also say I'm very grateful that I've been told this, and I also pointed this out in the pre-show, that when people hear something they don't like, it is much easier to just say, well, sod that, and walk away. Whereas because people are so passionate about what we do here, they'll approach me in this case specifically and say, I don't like that. I can go, okay, thank you for telling me. Anyway, let's get that out of the way. As a result, one of my videos has been delisted or made unlisted with regards to that particular individual, who I won't name in case it gives anybody any ideas in regards to what we're discussing. But I do agree with the sentiment that was discussed in the pre-show, just to make that absolutely clear if it wasn't clear in the pre-show. Should we do housekeeping, or should we go straight onto the short-ish video that was shared by Sensory Goat earlier? Which would you prefer?
Housekeeping first.
Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
How did Matthew Learns answer that question?
He denied the use of right angle triangles.
I mean, it shouldn't even be a question. It should just be a statement of facts that you can't obtain an elevation angle from a curved baseline.
Happy
It's
to
an
do it.
impossibility.
Happy to do it. Earth is measured flat with elevation angle measurements. There you go. Could start the show with a series of statements of fact, but it wouldn't really be very inviting to the opponents. Not that we care anymore. Maybe that's the point. I don't know. I don't care. They're under the misapprehension that I want to be converted back to the globe. And previously, I've been under the misapprehension that I want to convert the people who come here to a flat Earth. And that really isn't the case. In 2024, I feel more like the area manager. Well, if you want to go out and convert people door to door, then I'll give you the tools to do so, and they are a very effective tool. But in terms of my desire to actually convert next man I meet on the street to understanding that he's been deceived, it's actually quite low. What about you guys? On the show, 100% enthusiasm. Obviously, when they come here, they're going to get both barrels if they're disrespectful. They're going to get all the flat Earth evidence they could ever need if they're respectful. Because that's the show. But, like I say, from a personal point of view, I know there's many of you on the panel from a personal point of view want to convert family members. But I don't have that desire anymore. I don't know if anybody else feels the same.
Well, the man on the street, the everyday man on the street, that person is not convertible, really, by some other person they're meeting on the street. That person is only convertible by us proving our position on, let's say, the bigger side of social media or mainstream media. That's what converts those people. Me trying to convert someone at a bus stop, I'm at nothing. I don't want to be having the conversation. I talk about it so much. I don't want to be, especially because we're so deep into it. Trying to have that conversation with someone at a bus stop. You know what I mean? How many things do you need to explain to the person that they don't know about because they're not educated? Not that they're stupid, because they're not educated. How much do you have to go through? You know what I mean? To get your point across. If someone brings it to me, that's a different story. But I'm certainly not headhunting people on it, in my daily life to convert. Because there's no conversion. I'm not converting them from one thing to another. It's just reality is reality, and they'll accept it when they hear about it on social media.
I think
Maybe instead of bus stops, go into high-end car parks.
Hold on, Central. Go ahead, Moop.
No, I was just going to say, like, when I first came into the arena, I was like to everyone, "Oh, do you know?" Like, and obviously, I was so excited about it. And now I don't even tell anyone because if I bring it up, or if I do bring it up, it's yeah, I read an article that the reason you're a flat earther is because you're brainwashed, and it's just like the how can I put it? They're so brainwashed now to, like, in their sense, they're actually the ones brainwashed to believe that conspiracy theorists is not like you. That used to be the word connotized, wouldn't it, to attain that point of saying you're you're one of them. Well, now it's actually like if you say a flat earther, or I don't believe in the heliocentric model, or like the model that they've given us in school and all that, then they actually turn around and go, oh right, okay, but you're the one with the problem. Do you see what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
no, we're right, you're wrong.
You're saying the man who approaches you, or you approach him about this subject, the Glober in this particular example turns around and says, my brainwashing says that you're brainwashed.
I know, and it's so difficult nowadays, isn't it? It's like because even with close friends, I'll even if I like, because obviously we've got a meteor storm, haven't we? This on Wednesday, is it tomorrow? We've got a little light, so I thought, oh, we can go outside and watch, and I've just been saying it to people, and which obviously leads on to the violation of the space is fake, basically, which brings into that conversation, and then even like, oh right, okay, yeah. What do you think the meteor showers ain't real then? No, I didn't say. Obviously, I don't think they're meteors. They are lights. We are seeing, definitely. There's definitely something. But so you're denying it then? I'm like, no, I'm not denying it. I'm just saying they're not what we've been told they are.
Right, it's an automatic acceptance on their side that when we're told they're little rocks coming from a sky vacuum, that's what they are. When you say, well, I don't accept that, well, what are they, is one response they might give you. Well, I don't know. I just don't accept that what they've told us they are is what they are, given that I know there's no sky vacuum, for example. Go ahead, Sensual.
Oh, it was a terrible joke. I've forgotten. Don't worry.
Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as Earth curve?
They're still coming from the sky, Nathan. Going back to the other one, because I'm a little delayed. They're still coming from the sky. My son showed me some really good pictures of what they supposedly retrieved from this last one that passed the Statue of Liberty and went into the ocean.
Of sky rocks from a vacuum?
Absolutely. What else are they? He showed me them. They don't even look like anything from here. It looks like rocks from outer space. So I asked him, well, what the hell do rocks from outer space look like?
Yeah, we've got soil coming from the sky, apparently.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
And then he brought up Sodom and Gomorrah, how God rained. He said stones of fire. It just says fire came from the sky. It doesn't say they were in the form of meteors.
Shout out to TV. TEEVH, I should say. Hello, Nathan. I enjoy all of long hour shows because you make me crack up laughing. Thank you, Mr. Legend. Oh, wow. Thank you very much. Unless it was sarcastic, in that case, get lost. No, seriously. Thank you for the super chat. Any evidence of a physical... any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Well, that would be impossible because there's nothing impeding the diffusion of the gas.
What about the meteorites?
That's not evidence that you can have gas pressure without containment.
That would also
No,
be
but
a
it's
problem.
evidence. It's evidence that there's something wrong with the system.
No.
What?
If there's what if you want to call it, what would this be? Would you call it a phenomena, Neil?
Yes, definitely a phenomenon. Yes.
Right. So for step one, observe natural phenomena. Yeah? Now if you're to suggest that little rocks have come from the sky, then I would need to see that. Now if you say, well, here's my evidence, and then show me a bit of video footage of a little light with the Statue of Liberty in the background, cut to a man holding a rock, I'm just going to roll my eyes. Yeah? So it's not a natural phenomena until it's an observed natural phenomena. Now, if we do have rocks coming from the sky, wonderful. What does that mean? It means we've then observed the natural phenomena. Okay. What's the next step, Neil?
Okay, so you mean to tell me the only way to prove things is the scientific method?
Currently, there is a causal claim that a rock has come from a sky vacuum. That's the heliocentric claim of cause. The rock came from other rocks that the lights are. That's their claim. Okay, well that's riddled with presupposition about what they are saying is rocks and where they have come from. So we break it down to what we actually have if there is claimed to be a naturally occurring phenomena. First step is to observe it occurring. Now if you're only being given footage of it occurring, you're going to find that difficult. You're going to need to see the phenomena occurring in order to then formulate a hypothesis, to suppose a cause and vary it to see if you can induce the effect that you first observed in nature by way of experiment. That's how you prove the cause. You don't say, Copernicus says we're a ball flying through a sky vacuum and that the lights we've presupposed are at set distances based on radial values we measured flat, ergo we have a sky vacuum with soil in the sky and rocks falling from it. That's why we see those lights that I say are rocks. That's the cause. Oh no, I don't accept that. If it's a phenomena, I'll study it as a phenomena through the scientific method so we can establish empirical cause, not make up a story.
But how? It's going to be harder than lightning.
I don't care. You can take your story. It's like the guy the other day when he got to the point where he's like, well, is it the imaginary plane? No, it's the plane we're navigating. Okay. Well, what about when I measure these angles and then extrapolate it out onto a ball? If I did that, I could get to a ball. It's like, mate, why are you doing this? Then he goes, well, what if I move away from the mountains and they get smaller and I infer that there's a physical geometric sphere blocking my view of them? At which point I go, mate, look, why are you seeking affirmation of your bias? You already believe you're on a ball. Fine, you're on a ball. Go in peace. Be a believer. If you already believe, then great. But when we point out that your horizon's beyond its geometric limits, therefore it's not a hill, what about the wibbly-wobbly mountains? What about the wibbly-wobbly pillar box when the bridge that was blocking your view isn't there anymore? It's like, no, mate, just go in peace and believe you're on a ball if you want to. I don't care.
So you have no answer for what happened.
If we observe a natural phenomena, I can acknowledge the phenomena quite happily. But once you start ascribing cause through just so stories, I'm going to roll my eyes. When you start demanding that I explain it, I'll go, okay. If there's a phenomena to observe, that's step one. Where does this occur? Well, it occurred here. Well, I didn't see it. I haven't seen it. I can only study a phenomena if it's occurring. So I can see it occurring? They say it's occurring. Okay, well, lots of people caught the lights in the sky. Do we actually confirm at any point in the observational evidence that we presented with that a rock physically came from the sky and struck the ground? Now, we've got a claim that the rock originated in a just-so-story sky vacuum. We've got images of lights. Then we've got a man holding a rock. Now, if you can't see the disconnect and just want to say, well, there's your phenomena, go forth. Where do we get the rock from? Where did we get the rock from the moon from? It's the same exact argument. Okay, well, here's a rock. It's a moon rock. How else would I have a moon rock? Well, you just pretend that that's a moon rock, say it's a moon rock, and say you went through a sky vacuum to get it. You didn't.
Well,
there is no...
My son said the only way...
I've not finished, Neil. I didn't take a breath. There was no pause. There was no, I just couldn't hear the signal going away. I was in the middle of a bleeding sentence answering you. It's the same as the moon rock claim. They say, I've got a moon rock. How do you know it's a moon rock? Well, because they went to the moon to get it. Well, immediately, it's not a moon rock then, because you'd have had to have travelled through a sky vacuum to get it. We'd all be dead. You can't traverse gas pressure into an area of volume 10 to the minus 17 torr. Watch the pressure, take photos of the pressure not expanding into that area you're in, land on a moon, looking back at high pressure gas on a blue marble not dispersing into a high vacuum according to the story, and then come back with a rock to present it to me to ask me what else could it be. Because the entire journey's bunk. What else do they have? Well, it matches the moon rocks in Antarctica that could have only come from the moon. Well, no, because they've had to have traversed a sky vacuum, so it's an Antarctic rock at best. And you're not proving that either. It's just a rock. Well, here's a rock. It came from the sky. Why? Roll VT. What? Well, play the videotape of those pictures of the little lights that were in the sky near the Statue of Liberty. See that VT? That's this rock. Is it? Yeah. Okay. That's not good enough, unfortunately, for the scientific method standards. Well, we need a new method. No, you need to observe a phenomena first. So then you can start varying and manipulating that which you assume caused that which you observed. That's it.
It's a false comparison to compare the imaginary moon rocks to something that we see flying over the Statue of Liberty and landing into the water. My son is right. If flat earthers ain't going to realize it until a freaking meteorite hits them in the head.
Sorry, we have light displays in the sky all the time. And you're saying, what, because it's low in the sky, that suddenly I need to pay a great deal of attention? Okay. I'll observe a phenomena when I see one. I've seen plenty of lights coming through the sky in very low light conditions when my folks lived in a farm in the middle of nowhere in the middle of Wales. You didn't have any light pollution to interfere your view of the sky, and things are flying through it all the time. Now, if you're going to turn around to me, one of the farmers comes up the path in his tractor and goes, I found this rock. Did you see the streak of light? Yeah, I did. Well, here's the rock that was. Prove it. Roll VT. No, that's not good enough. Now, you can say all you like. Well, the news is saying that this rock is the thing that was in the sky. I'll believe it when I see it. And like with the final experiment in Antarctica, if you see it, that's to say you see a literal rock coming from the sky, you can then go about figuring out what caused a rock to fall from the sky. You can study the phenomena, but that's all you've got at best, even if I take it as read. Okay, I accept. This definitely was the rock in the images. Okay, now you need to formulate a hypothesis and cause and effect that phenomena to figure out what caused it. Oh no, I'm just going to be told it came from a sky vacuum. No! Neil,
How does meteorites prove a globe?
how does what prove a globe?
How do meteorites prove a globe?
They don't. Unless you assume they've come from a sky vacuum, wandering around in orbital motion until they happen to collide with Earth, like Thea did to create the core.
Well, you don't know where those rocks came from. They could have been thrown out the back of an airplane.
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly. You don't know what caused the rock if it is a rock to come from the sky. You don't know what caused it.
Well, I told my son I would ask him I would ask you the question. So I
Yeah,
did.
now you have. It's like any phenomena. What Brian's done is thrown a cat amongst the pigeon and gone, it isn't necessarily a natural phenomena now, is it? Because you might get to the bottom of this little, let's call it a rabbit hole. I was about to call it a cesspit. Let's say we get to the bottom of this rabbit hole and Brian's right. Someone's literally tossing rocks out of the sky.
Why?
Why
That's what
not?
my son said to me. Why would anybody throw things out?
Yeah,
These are all conspirators.
Neil, I got your why. Don't need anything else. Yeah. Who cares? It's not been established. It's not been proven. It's not been empirically validated. If you're going to suggest the cause of it, that's where it originated, then you need to put it through the method. Now, it might turn out, if you did, that it was caused by man, ergo synthetic. I'm not arguing that it is. It's just put a hypothetical cat amongst the pigeons, because sometimes what is perceived to be and treated as a phenomena, that's to say naturally occurring, isn't. But you'd have to science it, Neil. They haven't. You're clear?
Step one has to be prove it's a natural phenomenon first.
Yeah, precisely. Exactly. Step one, observe a natural phenomena. Well, it might be the case that in my description I've automatically assumed that we'll be studying a natural phenomena then. Brian's right. It's flawed from the first step if you just automatically assume this has occurred naturally when you don't know how it occurred. Explaining why it occurred if it's been done by man isn't necessary because it's not occurred naturally.
Well, everything else in the sky is a cycle. So if this is random, not only can we not establish what's going on in the sky because we can't establish what these lights are or what the origin of them is, we also, if something is random, coming from a place that is never random, that's always like clockwork, then there's something not right there. You know, so that doesn't lead credence to it being a natural phenomenon. As in, you can't rule out the dishonesty of man in that scenario. So you can go nowhere with it. You can't go either way with it. You can't, not with any certainty.
There was a time that it rained frogs. Now, convection currents ultimately proved to be the cause of this phenomena. They picked up a whole bunch of them and dropped them somewhere else. Now, if you, but just for the sake of this example, didn't know what a frog was, there's aliens coming from the sky! From the sky vacuum! Oh my god! No. You need to figure out the cause of that. But you could just infer, because from your perspective, frogs came from the sky. No, they didn't, though, did they? Yeah? But given that people have figured out the cause of that, I'm not saying they scienced it, they might have just looked into it and then figured out why that happened without having to science anything. My point is, we haven't even done that. Yeah, they can go to figure out why frogs fall from the sky, but we're not going to figure out why rocks fall from the sky. Well, no, we're not, because we already know that they come from a sky vacuum. Obviously, it's a meteorite. We've labelled it already. Okay, so I just have to accept that it's come from a place that doesn't exist. They're Narnia rocks, are they? They came through the wardrobe. I mean, the sky and sky vacuum that isn't real and doesn't exist and violates natural law. No, that's a causal description of why we have a rock coming from the sky. Well, no, I'm not going to accept that.
Regarding the frogs, Nathan, you don't necessarily need to use science. You could just use leaps of logic.
Boom. So, yeah. Meanwhile, no one's answered the question.
And if you prove your point, you can say, I told you so.
Wasn't?
Gotta love it.
I told you so. That's bleeding awful pun.
It's terrible.
That's absolutely terrible. That's why I got to laugh, though. The worse they are, the better they are. That was brilliant.
Well, what else could it be then? You just don't have the answer. Ha!
Sorry, can you ribbit that?
Ah, that was a good one.
Let's start with the crappy puns. Come on. Right, we do actually have a video to cover. Where are we in the show? 25 minutes in-ish. Unless you want another housekeeping. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No.
I mean, who cares? Who cares anyway? I mean, if there is a distance
Well,
to it.
hold on,
Who's
to
bothered?
burn those rocks up, it's got to be closer than 93 million miles away.
We don't know what it is to say it's a close or near or far situation. We know where it's above at a given time. That's about all we know.
How do you know it has a distance? Said this many times, and it never really gets a bite.
It took me a while to get it, okay, Brian. When you're measuring angles to stuff, I like to make it's going to crash into the horizon comparison. It's like if you're watching the sunset, if you're going to infer that you can measure its height, it means you're measuring its physical location. Well, does it crash into the horizon physically? No. Where the horizon is perceived to be meeting the sun and sky at that time, there's another potentially piece of land or sea underneath the sun where the sun's at your zenith for that position. So it's not physically reaching the ground when you measure an angle to it. Or to put it another way, someone's off mute in G+ or Discord. You go on mute if you're not. I'll come back and ask if anybody wants to add anything. You can't get its height. The angle inference is merely an altitude angle, and an altitude angle is not an actual angle. It's not an actual altitude. So how are you supposed to get an actual altitude from an inferred altitude angle when it's just the angle it presents with respect to the horizon, which it does not crash into?
Well, what we're always asked is, or what the mainstream claim is, the distance to the sun is whatever, 93 million miles. The height of the sun is what we experience. So the apparent height of the sun, I should be more precise. The apparent height of the sun above the horizon is what we experience. Like, that's an apparent height. You could call that height a distance, but only from the point, its GP point. Like, so when you say the distance to the sun, it's angular distance, the angular distance to the sun, even that you can't. If you're standing with the sun, what am I saying? I'm just being stupid here. If the sun is directly at 90 degrees above you, like it is in Hawaii once a year, where there's no shadows, right? You stand there, there's no shadows, it's 90 degrees above you. Right? What's the distance to it? What's the height of it? You have nothing. The claim of, when you're saying, what's the distance to the sun, that's heliocentrism. They have a distance to a thing that's not something that's a light that exists over a flat plane. Because a light that exists over a flat plane, all you can do is measure an angular height to that thing. You can't know the distance, because when it's at your 90 degrees, you have no idea what height it is or what distance it is. So to even say the distance to the sun, you're actually kind of begging the question, because that involves something heliocentric.
Yeah, at best you can get as you described. And we actually had that a couple of times on the 24-hour Tracking the Sun event, where someone at their solar noon, in the one instance, she lifted up a flower pot. So she just picks it up and shows that the shadow is directly below the flower pot. So it has no shadow. She picks it up and there's a shadow below it. And it was actually that particular event that we showed that the time and date didn't match the as it is, or Gleason's, which commonly is known as the azimuthal equidistant globe projection, currently being stacked up in false dichotomy in the quasi-claimed to be experiment known as the final experiment, which it isn't. But that inaccuracy was shown when someone did actually have the sun directly above them. I mean, I've been on the equator, but just not in those circumstances. I can't recall ever having the sun directly above me. I don't know if anybody else has held that experience, but I've seen it. Someone presented it to me in the sun tracking.
Yeah, twice a year not in Hawaii, they have that. They have that where there's a couple of hours of a day where at 12 noon, or let's say solar noon, the sun is directly at their 90. There's just no shadows. Zero shadows. You know it's at the 90 because there's no shadows. So It's directly above them. And it's impossible, when that's directly above you, it's impossible to know. How you can't use an angle then. You can't even use an angle at that point. It's a straight line above you. So there's no way of ever finding out how far it is from you at that point when it's at your 90. And if you can't find that out, then you'll never find it out.
But it was at that point, and that was like, what, a year or two into this? Maybe it was 2016, 2015, something like that we did this. And almost instantly, everybody in the closest circles to me rejected the azimuthal equidistant or Gleason's projection because it wasn't right. It says as it is on the Gleason's, but if it's not matching where the sun is claimed to be, it's not right. So you're like, well, it doesn't match. You know, it's supposed to be a clock. It's supposed to be matching with the sun's position. And for whatever reason, what we are told in time and date is midday wasn't at the solar noon of this particular person where they were marked as having solar noon on the Gleason's, backed up and checked and double checked and triple checked on time and date and other software at the time. But as soon as you see that, you're like, well, this is not a working map then. It's not correct. There's nothing else more to do. It didn't matter if the flight paths didn't match on it or there is or isn't a 24-hour sun on it at that point. You're like, well, it's just not correct for whatever reason. And at that point, frankly, I don't care, because it's not like at that point I've somehow invested my heart and soul into Gleason's and AE maps like other people had done. It's like you arrive in flat Earth and suddenly you're like, here's your flat Earth hat, here's your flat Earth t-shirt, here's your ice wall, here's your azimuthal equidistant map, slap your ass and off you go. Next! Here's your t-shirt, here's your map, here's your ice wall, here's your dome, and there's your Gleason's. On next! You're like, whoa, what's going on? I don't give a crap about this map. So, you know, me and Martin Leake have spent a significant period of time looking through all his old maps. What can these tell us? Well, what they can tell us is there's bloody hundreds of them, and they're all different. So picking out a needle in a haystack if you think you're going to find one that does actually represent it, and the only reason that there's so many different globe projections is to throw you off the scent of how they're actually functionally measured Earth in the first instance before have-a-sign and globe conversion. You can have hundreds of them that all work in slightly different ways, but do function for their deemed purpose. Well, as it is, it's supposed to be a clock. So, well, if it can't function as a bleeding clock, what use is it? I'm not going to put my name on this. And from that day to this, well, how do you explain it on the AIM? I don't care. It's your globe projection. If it fails, take it on the chin, son. It's your globe projection that's failed. I don't care if it fails.
Yeah, the problem is with those projections is that because they are coming from a globe, there's see, the globe is, I've said this before, but it's hard to get the point across to people because it's hard to explain it. All the latitudes on the globe, let's just say from the Tropic of Cancer right through the equator to the Tropic of Capricorn, the globe is set up mathematically. So as it rotates on the 21st of June, let's just say, that the sun's GP point will follow that Tropic of Cancer, right, in a big circle. Exact circle, because their globe is rotating as an exact circle, let's say once a day, right? So the GP point of the sun on that day, according to their mathematics, stays exactly over that exact circle. But you don't know if that's the case. just for the 21st of December, which is the northern solstice. You don't know if that's the case. You don't know if that's exactly what's happening, or if it's only happening that day on the equator and on the Tropic of Capricorn. You don't know if it's happening in between those times. So they have all those little latitude lines between all them, with the pre-assumption that the sun is over this one now today, and its GP point is following this one, because the sun is not moving within their paradigm. Their globe is rotating around in a circle once a day. So that's the thing.
Reminded me of something.
That pre-assumption messes up the maps. Go on.
You know who went through that with us? Charles, Flat Earth Math, went through that with us, along with giving us elevation angles to the sun when we asked for people to tune in at sunrise, sunset, or solar noon for the equinox and solstice, because we did 2 24-hour sun events. And he tuned in, and unless I'm very much mistaken, he gave us a whole bunch of elevation angle measurements. Now, I can't be bothered trawling through 48 hours worth of footage to find where Charles Flat Earth Math joined to give us his flat Earth measurements of the sun, but he did. I remember it quite distinctly. Even back then, they were measuring Earth flat to tell us it's a ball.
Well, it's not even back then. It's that he can't give you anything else. If he needs to give you a measurement, then he must address reality. This was my point about Kepler many years ago. For Kepler to do what he did mathematically, he needed to first address reality. Reality is we see the sun above a horizontal plane, and we take measurements to that. Do you know what I mean? Charles is just doing the same thing. Here's those measurements. So I'm then going to convert or manipulate by placing them as a calculation on a mathematical paradigm that I believe in. That's basically what was going on there. That's all that's happening. They can't give you anything else. That's all that someone can give you. So when it comes to them trying to prove something, what are they going to do? They're going to turn up with a measurement that has nothing to do with their paradigm.
Yeah.
That they can't make on their paradigm.
Yeah, like Simon Dunn did with his seismology claim. So he's taking flat Earth measurements and then projecting them onto points that are plotted onto a ball, and then describing these propagations that are straight in curves, and saying, look, this is how we plot out the multi-line core. You're like, okay, well, let's go through what's actually done. Well, you're taking flat Earth measurements with seismology. It's horizontal. And then converting it, as Adam eloquently went through, onto points that have been plotted onto a globe. Well, that's not proof of anything beyond your flat Earth requirement for these measurements. But they do it all the time without realising that, when often in that result, like with Dan, we just show the end result that's been plotted onto a globe. They won't show how it's been measured. You know, the headline reporting of here's the end result, it looks like it's on a globe when you see these straight lines curving that wouldn't be curving and aren't measured curving. So that's how they delude themselves. It's pretty sad. Anyway, I'm going to do a quick plug for a video I just released. I forgot what I called it now. Let's just go back and have a look at the list. It's called The Best Flat Earth Proof Ever! ! And it's taken from the Ballbusters After Show, which I hadn't actually been recording until QE prompted me to, subtly, when a baller came in. And we took our time with this guy. We spent a solid 2 hours with this guy, very courteously and patiently going through the hijacking of science, the demolishment of Earth curve, the acquisition of ball Earth radii, flat Earth in measurement. All of those things were detailed with the best of intentions and as nice as we possibly could be. Only for him to completely spoil it at the end by trying to affirm his bias. He was the guy I was discussing a few moments ago. By example, you know, affirming his bias with Earth curve edges that block mountains. After we've told him how the Black Swan works. Anyway, I haven't trimmed it out, I've just released a section of that particular video, which I will release the full video for. The whole lot has been renamed because it wasn't started as a Ballbusters After Show, so the full video is called Gravity and Earth Curve Debunked, which you can watch as a member. It's a 3-hour video. It does have some swearing at the end when the guy's lost his temper a few times and swore at me and then decided to call me dumb. So I've unleashed both barrels with the same sort of swears he had subtly dropped in, but put back to him. So if you don't like strong language, that one might not be for you. But in between him getting more and more cognitive dissonance influence over his reactions to certain things, he was also quite courteous at various different points and accepting of things that he couldn't overcome. And in that respect, it was quite useful for me to trim out what I've labelled the best flat earth proof ever, which is surprisingly short. It's only 8 minutes long, and it is actually technically a debate. That is to say, there's a back and forth between me and a globe believer, with him explaining his now understanding of measuring Earth flat in order to create a globe. And he explains back what he has understood, something I seek from many others who join this server that we don't necessarily get from. And afterwards, he reiterated the points about Earth being measured flat. I confirmed them and then welcomed him to Flat Earth. End of video. All very pleasant, very little disdain. So definitely worthy of a share. Definitely worthy of a share. Hence me putting the over the top. And it's not. It's true. The best flat Earth proof ever is in the fact that we measure Earth flat and, for them, make a globe with those measurements. They can't deny those measurements because the globe's made from them, and they are flat Earth in nature. So to me, it is the best flat Earth proof ever, and that's why it's labelled that way. But I'll put that out maybe maybe at the end of the day or something. It's currently also members only, but like I say, I'll release that, and indeed the full video which we recorded after Ballbusters on Saturday. So there's my plugs over. Anybody got anything to add or anything they want to plug before we get into covering a video today?
Yeah, I wouldn't have wasted my time with that guy other than holding him to task on the gravity thing. They're nice. I just know it's going nowhere. He's going to spend 2 hours pretending he's interested when all he wants to do is shout, "It's a globe" at the end. You know what I mean? I just wouldn't waste my time with him.
Well, like I say,
because he's going to go. He's smirking as he's sitting there, and you're detailing things to him. I wouldn't detail anything to him. He's making a claim about gravity. He hasn't been able to scientifically support it, so that's it. That's where it's secret. So there is no gravity there, and I'd only be interested in pulling that point apart. I wouldn't care about anything else. Just that.
And it was.
Only that.
It was. So that's the next thing I'll do. It's just going to take a bit more time because Huey offered up an opportunity for the guy, and then in very much real time, he spent an hour going through Einstein's papers looking for a valid hypothesis, while we're japing in the background saying, yeah, you good luck with your mission for a glass hammer or a stripy paint pot. You know, all the things that a chocolate teapot in nature he's been asked for to hint at the fool's errand he's been set on. But in real time, he did, to his credit, try and find one and present the best he could at the end of that. So I think what I'll do is trim out us discussing what tea tastes like in China and leave it as a concise, you say gravity's a force, it's holding you to a ball, what have you got to back that scientifically? Einstein, where is it in Einstein's evidence? I'll go look for it. Massive chunk of time elapses, and I'll put that in a little bit of the edit, and then tally on with him saying, here's what I found, us taking it apart as not being scientifically valid, and then showing the audience what is scientifically valid, how scientific validity is achieved, end of video. But I'll trim that out too. In other words, I'm not saying I disagree with your sentiment. I absolutely agree. And I'm glad you've said it, because that is also my sentiment. What a waste of time. At the end of it, if we were just looking at him as an individual, it was a complete waste of time. But I never am. He's a muse. He's a blank canvas to be painted on for an audience. And his reactions are telling in terms of the pain that he feels as an individual, but the learning that the audience will get from both the elevation angle argument measurement, which I've already trimmed out, and when I get to it, the gravity argument that was civil that we had and concluded was also useful for the audience, not for him. And that's your sentiment, and I agree.
Brian, the more Nathan can keep him talking, the more content he can make out of that conversation.
It's 3 a.m. I had no desire to do that. QE dropped it on me, and I know why. Because the night before, at maybe midnight, 1 a.m, we got to covering Simon Dan, and as soon as they got into it, Adam and everyone who was around him, QE and all the rest of it, we were all very keen to cover it. So I started recording so that the flow would stay all nice and high energy and everyone's keen and all the rest of it. And then after the fact, they're like, you didn't tell us we were recording. And I'm like, well, I'm always to be considered as recording. You know this. And they're like, yeah, but it was long after we'd finished and You know, you didn't tell me. That was it. But I could tell there was a bit of a bitter taste left in especially QE's mouth. Following day, 1, 2 in the morning when I'm ready to go to bed. Oh, I'll just introduce my compadre who's going to tell you how Earth's measured flat. Nathan, over to you. What? I'm just about to say goodbye and go to bed, actually, is what I said. So, yeah, but it did turn into good material. Anybody else got any comments? If not, we'll get on to this video. I've already posted a link, but it was badly timed because we didn't actually get to it. But I'll do it again now. So, floating by any second in the live stream chat will be a link to this videographer. I'm not sure how big he is or how small he is, but in either event, it wouldn't really matter because I would encourage you to do what I am going to encourage you to do, which is go and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Share in the algorithmic love where we receive none from YouTube themselves. And leave him a comment, maybe leave him a like if you like what he generally does. Subscribe. Offer him all those things that I would hope we get in return should someone ever respond to us. Now, I was particularly pissed at Simon Dan because he'd used a huge chunk of my edited work to monetize and put his sponsors on and make money from, views from, and then had the nerve to, number one, say, what's he doing with this footage I'm using? That's Dan's using. What does he want? Views? Yeah, I'm a videographer. Did he put a link to my material that he used swathes of? No. So, very annoying. Nevertheless, Dan's a prick. Hopefully this guy, if he was to make a response, wouldn't be such an egregious prick and would actually put a link to the material that he's responding to like I'm doing now for him, which is to say, please go and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a nice polite comment that won't get removed, that just simply draws his attention to the fact his videos had a few more views, maybe gained a few subs and likes as a direct result of us covering his material. So yeah, please do that now. I'll keep going then with the call to action until a couple of you from the live stream. There's a good 85 people watching to do this, so go ahead. I'm going to keep going with my call to action.
Yeah, he's never going to do it. Don't you understand? You're a threat. Why would he promote you when he knows you're a threat to his whole system?
Yes, I know. And that's also very telling, isn't it? When dozens of people come to me and go, he's deleting all the comments pointing it out to him. Yeah, I know. Yeah, of course. So we know he's a threatened little mouse in a corner. Yes, we know. It's very telling. It's not just, oh, right, if it doesn't happen, that's of no use to me then, how sad, boo-hoo. No, as a direct consequence of them not wanting to put a link, they also remove links on comments from people who they don't like having that pointed out to them. Okay, so Dan needs to censor his audience. He needs to remove comments that point out his rather selfish behaviour. Yeah, very telling. Thank you to all of you who pointed that out to me. Really appreciate it. Keep it up. So when Dan comes along and reads the comment section where they point out what a nutter coward he is, he'll have to indulge in his own self-pity and the reason behind why he will have deleted all those comments. Yeah? No, he doesn't want anybody seeing what we've actually got to say. He doesn't want people to come to the response video where we rip him a new one. Of course not. That's telling, isn't it? That's the point. Doesn't just work for my benefit if they do post. In some instances, like with Dan, they're so stupid that they'll dig their own little grave in so doing and remove the comments highlighting it. You know, in my mind, you think, will you do the lesser detrimental route? And oh, I'm sorry, here's a link. I don't normally do it, but oh well, as you've moaned. Whoa, aren't you a big baby? There's your link, big baby. That would have been a much better reaction, even with the ad homs. Instead, the people who've gone to his video have had their comments removed. Dan's had to censor them. Right, Dan? Yeah. Well, that's fine when people do ponder their way to my video, as difficult as that may be, but they still do. People still come and watch. They'll read all about Dan's disgusting behaviour. From the point of view of not me, but my commenters. The people I'm sending to videos like the one we're covering now. Anyway, that's easily enough time to actually get to the video. Call to action's been done. Hopefully a few people have come back. So this videographer is called Tektali. Is that right? Tektali. So Tektali, I think. And the video is discovering the top 5 bizarre beliefs. Okay, that's not about us then. Of flat earthers. So go and check it out. As I say, I've left a link. It's going by, or has gone by the live stream chat. I'll do it again just so it is actually there. Yeah, let him know Nathan Oakley or at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Has anybody watched this and wants to comment before I click the play button so it doesn't immediately get interrupted with people saying, oh, I've watched this guy?
No, but I wanted to say one more thing from your little rant there. But why are they afraid, Nathan? The whole world knows it's a globe.
Well, same reason the guy who came that we were discussing a minute or two ago wants to go out and affirm his bias by watching a mountain get smaller and assuming that there's going to be Earth curve obstructing it. They want to relieve their pain in doubt. Oh well, if it's under question, I've got two choices: go and confirm it, but if you're an anti-flat earther, you know there's a good chance you won't, or shut down the person that's opposing me so I can get on with my belief in blissful ignorance, even though that won't achieve anything either. You know, the people who oppose us, they, in their stupid minds, think that if they just get rid of us, it'll stop being a problem for them. And they're wrong. You can't unsee what you've seen. Once Pandora's box is open, once you've taken the red pill, all of the analogies, you can't unsee it. Us not barking it from the rooftops, what, you think that if the consensus doesn't grow against you, it'll all be fine? Well, you're deluding yourselves.
I have a confession to make, Nathan.
You're a baller. You're trans.
No, it's not that severe.
What?
But the other night, when the guys started bringing up angular sizes, I was tired and I just dropped out of the call because I knew QE was going to go, I'll just bring you over to my friend Brian's logic here.
Oh, you know, I did wonder. You very abruptly disappeared and he was like, oh, yeah, bye, Brian. I'm like, that's unusual. Brian normally sticks around till, you know, you're a proper night. You're like me, you're probably a bit of an insomniac or a night owl, one or the other. So I thought, Brian's...
Well, no, that I don't, like, my sleep pattern changes all over the place. So I was genuinely tired. If I wasn't genuinely tired, I would have wanted to stay around, but I was tired, like you, and I was like, I'm not getting caught here, and I left.
You should hear my reaction.
He put it on you.
Yeah, you should hear my reaction. It's like, he's talking away, and I'm like, half asleep, I reckon. But it's suddenly hear my name mentioned, and that's going to be handed... I'm like, what? You'll hear it on the video.
Wait a second, though. Time out. I was reprimanded for doing things like that. Like bringing up something and saying, isn't that correct, Brian? To push the conversation to him. And now QE has done it? Oh, very nice.
Okay. What are you saying?
I don't think it has anything personal to do with you, Neil. I think it's more of a slightly different situation.
Is Neil taking this as something personal against him?
Yeah, it's that he supposedly got reprimanded.
QE said a few things that he hated, and that was one of them.
You don't get to reprimand the Colonel. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no offence, Neil, but you're not the general of this force. So.
There's a hierarchy here, Neil.
Yeah, you're scrubbing the deck with me.
I didn't want to call him a grunt, but...
I see how it is.
Okay, well, that's good. I'm glad that we cleared that up. Let's actually get onto this video, because otherwise we're going to cover it and we're 50 minutes in.
It's a myth to me, and I'm sure it's a myth to a lot of people. There's a lot of information and misinformation that circulates about the shape of our planet. And in this video, we're going to debunk some of the most common flat Earth myths out there. And we'll use some scientific facts.
That's fair enough. I wouldn't even object to the way he phrased that. That was quite good. The most common. Kind of leans towards a stereotype fallacy, but isn't quite. Would you agree?
No, because he just said scientific facts, so that means he's already in a category error.
I realise he's in a category error. I'm just focused on the typical phraseology where it will be phrased as flat earthers think that X. Whereas he's saying he's positioned it to say the most common flat earth beliefs. Which I go, okay, well, if you want to say that I'm uncommon, then I'm quite happy, that at least with his phraseology in that regard, I can sit outside of the potentially deemed to be stereotype that he'll throw up next, right? I can sit outside that if it's the most commonly believed. If you go, well, okay, well, Dave Weiss has got more subs than you. You can't really disagree. It's more commonly held as a belief. We brace against it all day long. So therefore, just that one phrase, I've got no objection to.
And
yeah, he's going to disappoint you.
I know. I like to start out with a positive, though.
It won't be as deep or as lengthy as you might think.
Can you hear what he's saying? He's got his music a bit loud in the mix.
Well, I'm just going to touch quickly on the subjects and explain what I think about them.
Yeah, we got that from the fact that you've done a video on it and it's in the title.
So let's get started.
I thought we already were. We're 44 seconds in.
Now, one of the most common arguments from flat earthers is that the horizon appears flat. Whether
By definition, it is. What's he talking about? Appears flat. You're establishing fundamental and geometric principles with the horizon as being flat. It's part of the word. Horizontal. What are you talking about? Do you think the horizon's curving? No, mate, no.
Yeah.
Come on, Brian.
Sorry. Just saying that's where we get the the horizons is where we get the orientation of horizontal from.
What a clown.
whether you're standing on the ground or looking out from an airplane,
So what, a ground level or at an altitude measured with respect to surface level? That would be how high we are above the level surface or on the level surface known as surface level. You're going to use those, right? So we're already into using flat Earth for these examples.
they claim that if Earth were truly a sphere, you would see a noticeable curve. Now, however...
No, that's your claim. They say if Earth was a sphere, we'd see a curve. I think you're a bit confused about who's making what claim. You, as a globe believer, claim we've got Earth curve. You claim, as a globe believer, Earth curve is the horizon. So it's not flat earthers say that the horizon should do X. Again, I'm struggling because there is a commonly misheld flat Earth belief that they should be asserting what the globe does or doesn't do. And it doesn't alter the fact that that's still the globe's assertion, regardless of how badly wrong our side get it. It doesn't alter in their ability to beg the question on their opponent's behalf. That's flat Earthers' ability to beg the question. It's still begging the question on the opponent's behalf, regardless of this automatic positioning that we do it for you. It's still your claim.
However, this perception is due to the sheer size of the Earth itself.
So what you're saying is the horizon's flat, but it's because Earth's so big. So we measure flatness because of how biggy it is. So it's just it's flat then. But you're mitigating
So
for why it
biggie is
isn't.
flat.
Say again.
The one he said before, that's the best one so far, because that's basically a concession, right? Oh, they think that because it's a sphere, we should see curvature. Okay, so by that statement, what you're saying is there's no observed curvature? Okay, welcome to Flat Earth, buddy.
Yeah, there's no observed curvature. The horizon is flat, but that's only because it's so big. So what you're doing is you're confirming we deal with it, use it, perceive it, and define it as flat. But then you mitigate for the flatness that you've just conceded to by saying it's because it's a really big ball. This is a typical example, ladies and gentlemen, of our opponents using elevation off a surface level, using surface level, and they're describing how, what, at altitude flat earthers say the horizon should bend? Wrong. And then pointing out that it doesn't bend. Therefore, this is a win because I wasn't claiming it. Yeah, you were. But because it doesn't, it's flat, and that's how it's defined and dealt with. It's only because it's a really big ball that we don't perceive any balliness. That's my globe proof. That's crap. That's just telling everyone how flat it is. And then strapping on mitigation for why it isn't perceived to be ball-shaped in any way.
And it's comparing to our limited field of view.
Yeah, what was it? Confessional debating. Yeah, of course we deal with it flat.
Yeah.
Because it's such a big ball. Yeah, of course we measure this area locally flat. Because it's such a big ball. Confessional debating. Or ball jitsu.
It appears obviously flat to Earth. However, the
We'll have to hear that again. He's telling us how flat it is.
sheer size of the Earth itself, and it's comparing to our limited field of view, it appears obviously flat to Earth.
So we see Earth flat and perceive it flat. Earth's flat. That's how it is. Therefore, ball.
However, this perception is
However, our eyes doth deceive us.
due to the sheer size of Earth compared to our limited field of view.
I see. So in a limited capacity, we're on a great big flat patch.
I think this guy thinks that as a flat earther. I walk outside my door and I do a 360-degree turn and go, no curvature, and walk in, it's flat. I think that's what he thinks is my my rationale for why I'm claiming the Earth is a flat stationary plane.
He thinks you go outside and say, you know what, there should be some Earth curve there. That's what he thinks you do.
Now, when you look at Earth from the horizon, you're seeing a tiny portion of the Earth's surface. But if you go higher, you see footage available, you can see videos available online, or from high altitude balloons.
Right, if you go higher, you can see footage online. Runs downstairs, climbs up ladder. Where's the footage from online? I've got higher! Climbs back down ladder, comes back in front of Mike. I just went higher. There was no online footage. I think what you're trying to suggest is that if the Earth was a sphere, then the distance to the horizon you're claiming is Earth curve could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as laid down in Earth curve maths. And there's images online that affirm or comport with the suggestion that a begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator can and does reify the horizon into your presupposition of an Earth curve edge blocking your view, and the images online you suggested we could get if we went up in altitude affirm that position. Well, let me introduce you to an argument called the Black Swan. Who's off mute? Go ahead.
He was supposed to, I think, put new bikes in here. That was his original plan.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
but I still need to be able to back in here, get to that lift. Okay. So I'm just, I told him, I said, you don't lie.
This shit, I don't know what happened. Fucking parts is not here.
Talking about like right this area.
That's fine right there.
This is okay.
Okay.
But I need to be able to back out.
Okay.
Bring a van in.
So,
Oh, I was listening to that. Oh, someone from the servers muted him. Oh well. Diego, you were hot micing, my friend. Hold on, Brian. You were hot micing, Diego. If you can pop yourself on local mute, if you can hear me, then someone will take your server.
Yeah, I got him, Nathan. It's not his fault. It keeps happening to everyone.
I know.
So no worries.
But it's amusing. One day we'll catch someone mid-coitus or something. Or maybe not. We'll never know. In any event, right, let's get back into this video because I've lost where we were.
What this guy is about to do.
I was about to go through Black Swan. Go ahead, Brian. Brian. Okay, well, Brian's obviously not around anymore.
Satellites, we can clearly see and observe the curvature. This is why astronauts, pilots...
Okay, was that where you thought he was going to go, Brian? Has he disappeared? He has disappeared. No, he's gone to sky vacuum. So now looking at cartoons of men seeing a curved horizon with high pressure gas that we're all breathing next to a 10 to the minus 17 torr sky vacuum, where the men in the rockets not only need a rocket around them, a container, to keep the gas pressure inside the container that they're in, but apparently they also need a second container, for them to keep gas pressure to breathe inside them. But they're looking out of their container, out of the container in the container, at a non-container system that's got high-pressure gas not expanding into the vacuum they're protecting themselves from. So they need to keep the high-pressure gas they're breathing inside this cartoon rocket or inside the spaceship. But the Earth, in violation of natural law, has high-pressure gas not dispersing into a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum. This is absurd. You can't traverse through high-pressure gas into a sky vacuum and just look at the gas not filling the space you're in. This is a cartoon from Narnia. It's absolutely sad to suggest that rocket men in a sky vacuum give you your pictures of Earth curve, because it's a violation of natural law. Duncan McLeod says, snake, snake, snake. I don't know what that means. Does he know what that means? Does anybody know what that means? Thank you for the super chat.
I'm slightly confused about all these statements that my man over here is making, as far as if you go higher, then you can see the sphericity of this ball. So we're not supposed to see it from the ground. Okay, what happened to over reliable? I thought over reliable that boats go over the curve. What happened to that? Are they trying to change the canon on us all of a sudden?
Yes. They will flip between the two. Yes.
Oh, okay. That's cool because I thought that was a cool story. That usually was the basis of their. Oh, we know it's a ball because boats over curves. Now all of a sudden, what he's telling us is, they think that you're supposed to see sphericity. They think you're supposed to be able to measure curvature, but here's why they don't. It's hilarious, man.
Yeah, it looks flat and measures flat, but here's why it would be mitigated for. It's a really big ball, so you've got to get quite far away from it into a sky vacuum with gas not filling it to take pictures of the Earth curve that's claimed to be at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet in Earth curve maths derived from flat Earth measurements of the stars.
As we're flying at a high altitude, they consist.
High altitude? What, like how high you are above sea level? Well, you'd need sea level to describe how high you are above it, wouldn't you? It almost seems like you're using all these flat Earth prerequisites like height to suggest that you can get up into a sky vacuum at a certain height above a sea level that's measuring it. To say that gas isn't filling space in violation of the second law of thermodynamics. That's basically your argument in a nutshell, mate. You don't know that. Or you didn't. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Hopefully he'll do the same for me if he responds and says, no, we can have gas next to a vacuum. We've got gravity. Bent space-time holds it here.
Recently report seeing the curvature of the Earth. And it's all about perspective and the scale which we are observing things. Now, myth number 2.
Did you say it's all about perspective that we are observing? Because perspective is omitted, nay hijacked in your maths. In your Earth curve maths, the way that it breaks down after you've derived a radial value by measuring stars off a flat plane to put them into this maths with a radius of 3959, you have to exclude perspective. What do I mean? Well, if you are familiar with the Earth curve maths, you will question and ponder why a 100-foot building has 60 foot missing. Okay, let's break that down. 100-foot building will not change at any distance in terms of its angular size. The perspective of things, it doesn't matter in Earth curve maths if that 100-foot building is 10 miles away or 1,000,000 miles away. In their diagrammatical example, there is only one reason why the building disappears. Because Earth curve gets in the way. When they've derived the Earth curve mathematically from a flat Earth measurement. In reality, without the Earth curve, in their diagram that excludes perspective, you can draw you on the left of the page and the building on the right. You can write 6 foot on the man, 100 foot on the building, and draw a line between them. And write 100 million miles on the line. And go, look, you can see this 100-foot building at 100 million miles. Because it's not changed its angular size at any distance. That's how Earth curve mathematics, derived from flat Earth measurements of stars for radial values, utilize the perspective we see to rename it Earth curve. There is no perspective in Earth curve, you clown. So to say it's the perspective is to fundamentally misunderstand how your Earth curve maths has utilized perspective to relabel it Earth curve.
Which is a popular one is that ships don't disappear over the horizon because...
A minute ago, we couldn't see Earth curve until we got to space, and now we're into the flat Earth myth of boats going over the bleeding horizon. This is them. This guy has also done it where he's immediately cut to a ship falling over a flat Earth disk scenario. No, mate. You're the one with boats falling over the horizon, you complete clown. It's your boats falling over an Earth curve edge in geometric terms in your Earth curve maths I've just detailed that excludes perspective. Meanwhile, with you and your boats falling over your Earth curve edge that we debunked in 2020 with the Black Swan, which we may or may not get to in this show, you're suggesting that we've got boats falling over a pizza pie in a sky vacuum. Au contraire.
Of the Earth's curvature, but rather due to perspective. Flat earthers argue.
Right. You're showing images of a big boat in the near foreground and a little boat in the distance. In your Earth curve maths, let's say this is a let's say it's a 50-foot boat. But that's also a 50-foot boat. Well, is this boat in this picture the same size as this boat? No, it's smaller. Well, why would that be? Well, because of perspective. So we know perspective's real, but given that your maths for an Earth curve edge horizon that you're going to appeal to in a second does not have perspective, this is a 60-foot boat, and this is a 60-foot boat. Because in your maths, it's you on the left and target on the right. There's no perspective, mate. You obviously don't understand how mathematically your Earth curve assertion comes in an orthographic format.
That ships merely get too far.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm confused. So this last one was what? It was they think that boats are not disappearing over the curve. They think it's perspective. They as in we, right? Is that what his point was?
Basically.
Okay, that's cute. But I thought the first excuses were all as to how we don't see this supposed curvature from the ground level. Like literally the last one was you have to go to high altitude footage. So what curvature is he talking about? He sounds very confused.
Yeah. Curvature can't be seen unless you're a spaceman, but we can see curvature because boats go over it. That's his stupid...
No, it's called the effects of curvature. That's what they call it.
You see, in reality, ships disappear hull first when they move away from us, which is a clear indicator of the curvature.
It's a clear indication that you can beg the question of curvature. You haven't established why boats would do that. Go on, Chocolate.
I'm sorry. I was just having fun with this guy. The same curvature that you say we had to go high to see, but this is clear indication. Okay, buddy.
Yeah. Meanwhile, your claim that boats go over the curve and that's why they're falling over your edge hull first is an assertion that we have an Earth curve edge at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet if Earth's a sphere. Then the distance to that horizon you're claiming can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. The distance to the horizon in the Black Swan images we presented in 2020 is beyond the limitations of a sphere edge horizon you think the Earth curve is represented by the denotation of two oil rigs at set distances. With the 1 foot observer height, it would put the horizon Earth curve for you at 1.2 miles. And it's not. It's way beyond the 10-mile mark at best for you. So it's not a hill. Hills don't physically get up and pack their suitcases and move behind the things they were formerly blocking or obscuring from your position. It's absurd, but we've debunked your claim of Earth curve. Black Swan, look it up.
If the Earth was flat...
I'll give the full logical consistency, why not? If P, the Earth, is a sphere with a radius of 59 miles, then every distance to horizon measurement can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, Q. Not Q. Distance to horizon beyond the geometric limitations of a sphere edge at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Therefore, not P. The Earth is not a sphere. The horizon is not Earth curve. It was debunked in 2020.
You would see the entire shape getting smaller, uniformly, but...
Sorry, getting smaller? No, not in your maths, mate. The boat remains the same feet and inches or meters value at all distances. So I don't know why you're appealing to boats getting smaller when that is not represented in your Earth curve assertion. You don't know your own claim.
That's not what happens. It's something called atmospheric refraction, and it can slightly affect how we see objects at a...
No, atmospheric refraction is 7/6 of a radius value in standard form. That's maths.
What he just said there is this magic that is based off of my pre-assumption, and this magic allows you to see things that you wouldn't be able to see if my pre-assumption was true.
Well, he might have inferred that, but he actually said terrestrial refraction, which is 7/6 of a radius value. The radius value coming from a flat Earth measurement, minimum elevation angle to Polaris. The latitude system stretched around a globe, also flat, is where you get these values. Radius, 7/6 of it, that's 7/6 of a radius. That's what terrestrial refraction, end quote, is. Now, the fact that he thinks terrestrial refraction is light bending through two different mediums, that's refraction, otherwise defined with Snell's law. This is not refraction. This is terrestrial refraction, which is 7/6 of a radius value. It's a mathematical derivation of an R measured on a flat Earth. It's got sod all to do with anything that he's detailing when he says it affects what you see. No, 7/6 of a radius value doesn't affect anything that we see. Our eyeballs affect what we see. Things in the distance aren't affected by maths.
But it doesn't amount to, or it doesn't amount for the whole first disappearance. This is a classic example of how the curvature of the Earth becomes evident.
No, it's your assumption of Earth curve derived from Earth curve measurements. No, derived from flat Earth measurements extrapolated by radial value into Earth curve maths that excludes perspective. You have no idea what you are talking about. As always, we know more than the globe proponent about his own stupid religion.
Myth number 3, airplane routes make no sense on a globe. Flat Earth.
Airplane routes make no sense on a globe. Okay.
Earthers believe that, or they claim that certain airplane routes only make sense on a flat Earth map.
They're all done flat. Charts and maps are all flat. What's he babbling about? Does he think they're carrying globes on boats and planes? Really? I mean, they might plot them three-dimensionally in computer programs with respect to the positions they got from the stars to map onto a globe. But that system has been measured with respect to the angles of a flat plane to the stars and put onto flat charts and flat maps. Now, many of those flat maps and flat charts have come by way of converting the flat Earth elevation angle measurements to the stars onto global points. So flat Earth measurements projected onto globes, then projected back onto flat charts. So what? So they're all distorted because we've got, for some unknown reason, a projection to a globe and back to a flat chart again, which distorts everything. Yeah, maybe ignore the step where you convert it onto a globe we're not standing on. But we're not the ones making the maps. But you think that the flights are being done on globes. No. The positional data that they're using is unequivocally flat, as are the charts, as are the maps, as are the original measurements.
For example, flights between southern hemisphere.
What's this? This looks like a Mercator projection. Oh, what do you know? Immediately presenting it on a flat map. Yeah, this globe projection has come from elevation angle measurements to give you the latitude and longitude grid, projected onto a globe, and then from there, projected out onto a cylinder, and then rolled out flat. That's what the Mercator projection is. A flat map.
Continents, they supposedly take strange routes. But when we look at these routes on a globe, we see that they follow what
are these lines you've got wrapped around it? Right? These are a shorthand version of latitude. Yeah? It's from the USGS. What do you think these lines are? Where do you think these come from, you clown? This is the equator. Where do you think that's measured? Yeah? This is an after-the-fact projection from flat Earth measurements that give you the lines onto global points. Yeah, they're the projected points that you would see the stars from a flat plane through a protractor that has now been turned into this globe, with the celestial sphere wrapped around it. But the lines that you've got to make this globe have come from flat Earth measurements. But you just take the in-between bit, your limited knowledge that the powers that should not be present to you in shorthand form. Here it is, projected onto a globe. Well, what is this line around it? Where was that measured? Oh, angles to the stars off a flat plane. Clown.
Are known as Great Circle Route.
Yeah, sorry. What he's about to claim, or has claimed, is what's known as Great Circle routes. Great Circle routes are straight lines. There is no circle. and they're only applicable for commercial air travel or any air travel or any marine travel directly north to south or south to north, because that's the directions of the longitude lines. Because all the Great Circle route is taking the length of two longitude lines and making the south ends of those longitude lines meet, and that gives them a great circle, mathematically. But in reality, those longitude lines are straight lines. But there's a second problem. They can't use these claimed great circle route distances when it comes to anything that's not matching north-south, south-north. So anything that's deviating from that, they must use what's known as rumline distances, because rumline distances don't match those. And if the Earth was a globe, then there would be no need for rumline distances, because everything would be part of a great circle route. So this is ignorance from these people. They don't know what they're talking about. This guy, like all the rest of them, are ignorant.
Path and 2 points on a sphere. These routes are used to save time and fuel, and they make perfect sense on a spherical Earth. This is why we see...
Well, the spherical Earth's been created with flat Earth measurements, so if you're saying it makes perfect sense, I'll take that as a win then. Because the globe you're inferring it works on is derived from the flat Earth measurements of the angles to the stars and the sun to give you this grid system. So if you're going to say it's a win, okay, well, where'd you get your globe from? Flat Earth measurements? Okay, well, it's a flat Earth win then.
Flights that seem
Yeah, but how
longer...
is plane, hold on, how is the plane even flying on a globe? Because I heard Brian saying that a plane can't fly around the globe.
Yes, it can't. It's impossible for aircraft to fly over anything other than a flat plane, because they're going to have to pitch down for a globe, which means they lose lift, which means they fall out of the sky.
Brian's been trying to acquire, because he's kind and wants to help out our opponents in regards to how they standardise their evidence when they go down to Antarctica. Well, at the moment, all they've got is a begging the question fallacy. I assume I'm going to be on the bottom of a ball when I get there. Well, Brian suggested, if you can give us the pitch data, we can see how you, rather than assuming antipodal positioning, traverse to the outside edge of a sphere. And what he has got is pilots telling him that they already know it won't deviate from the horizontal. But that doesn't mean anything. That's what we're getting. I kid you not.
Yeah, exactly. I've had literally commercial pilots admit to me that there won't be any deviation from the horizontal. Why would you expect there to be? That's what I'm getting.
So we won't be doing anything other than proving a flat Earth with this pitch data. Why would you expect it to deviate, Brian? Well, I wouldn't. I'm a flat Earther, but you'd need it to if you're going to claim that you're travelling antipodal. You're just not. You're travelling over a flat plane, and the way you know that you're not going to crash into the ground is with your pitch with respect to the horizontal plane you're flying over.
Well, the most recent one, when I say recent, it's like since last night, is I have ballers trying to say to me that the three-dimensional coordinate system, which is XYZ, which is flat plane coordinate system, right, that they're trying to hijack the Z of that, right, the Z, the downward part of the Z, that the Z, the minus of the Z below the horizontal XY plane, and trying to say that that's the gravity vector. And right, this is how bad it is. They're trying to make a horizontal line, but then make it be at a different angle to that first horizontal line, and then another one at a different angle to that, and trying to call them all horizontal.
Okay.
Not realizing.
There's a summary. There's a way of summarising that. There's a shorthand.
This is the thing.
Hold on. Let me just shorthand it. Hold on.
But that's,
hold on.
This is about, This is important.
Hold on. The shorthand way of saying what Brian just said is they are now trying to claim the plane is travelling along a geodesic in space-time. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, yeah, kind of. That's kind of what they're trying to say. But not realising is what they're doing is they're trying to gravity vector. What the hell is that for a start? Right, number one. Number two is they are actually admitting via that the plane will break its initial horizontal. But the plane can't go from one orientation to another orientation that's without showing a difference in the pitch. It's impossible for that to happen. So the plane can't go from one to the other and there not be a pitch below horizontal.
On a flat map.
Sorry, I thought you were done.
Sorry?
I thought that was the conclusion, sorry.
Well, the whole point is that they can't do any of that. Because as soon as it pitches below that initial horizontal, it's losing lift. That's the whole purpose. So they're all in violation of each other. Because some of them are trying to claim that, others are claiming there'll be no change. You know, and the commercial pilots are telling me, I'll put my stamp on it. There'll be no deviation from the horizontal.
I'll put my stamp on it. They're flying flat. Yeah, we know. We already know. That's why many of us are telling Brian that he wouldn't be able to read the pitch data, or it'd be very difficult to come by, or it'd be very expensive. Now we're being told, like Bull-Jitsu style, we already know it's not going to prove a globe. We already know it's only going to show we're travelling over a flat plane and referencing it for how our pitch is keeping us flying. We already know. I'll put my stamp on how flat Earth is for this, says the globe believer. Yeah, that's not a defence. That's your loss. That's the end of the argument then. So we're flying with respect to a horizontal plane and we're pitching our nose with respect to it. Then they're flying flat. There's no other explanation then. And you already know it, this pilot that's contacted you. You already know you're on a flat plane then, don't you, mate?
They actually make more sense and are more direct and efficient on a globe.
No, straight lines are more efficient. Brian just covered it. Great circles are straight lines. Not more efficient to travel curved. What are you babbling about? Do you not know about efficiency? Do you not know about the shortest distance? It's one of the very basic things they taught you in a maths class. The shortest distance is a straight line. What's that? Shortest distance is the circle? No.
Myth number 4. Gravity doesn't exist.
Myth number 4. Flat earthers say the contrapositive to my positive assertion that gravity does exist. Just to paraphrase. No, you stupid clown, every single one of your claims is what flat earthers say in response to your positive assertions that you believe you're on a globe with. But you think this is somehow a mad defense to say flat earthers say we should see Earth curve. Flat earthers say we should have gravity, but they say we don't. No, that's your positive claim that we do have gravity. So what you now need to do is back your claim, not show how flat earthers fail to debunk your claim that's automatically assumed to be true. This is pathetic.
Flat earthers argue that gravity doesn't exist.
Flat earthers argue that gravity? No! No, you stupid idiot!
And the objects fall due to density and buoyancy.
It's not a positive claim. We can explain how this stuff works in an argument when you present the positive claim that all things move towards the surface of Earth because of gravity. Meanwhile, we debunk it by pointing out that we've got gas that we're breathing. In your worldview, that's got quote-unquote mass. And given the mass of Earth, we'd have gas moving towards it. Meanwhile, gas gets produced at ground level and disperses out and upwards. Regardless of which model you believe you're standing upon, gas doesn't go down. It goes up, away from the ground after it's been produced. Look up. Do you see any clouds? They're a direct result of the water vapour going up. Do you think all things go down? Yeah, that was debunked 109 years ago. And then replacing it, we've got pseudo-geometry of Einstein's bending space-time, as just discussed earlier.
They believe that denser objects simply fall because they are heavier.
Or is that incorrect? More dense than the medium. Sorry, whoever's going, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Well, both saying, if we both jumped on the same thing, it's like that's not the case. It's that more dense objects will go down through a less dense medium. That's not some belief we have. That is just a fact of nature. Less dense objects will go up if the medium is more dense. That's just a fact of nature. That is not flat earthers' belief. They try and reposition these things as if we have some belief of this. No. Apples will fall through air, but they'll rise through water. Is that a belief I have?
No.
That's not a...
It's actually a second-order effect of entropy.
Gravity is a fundamental force that attracts.
Wrong. Hasn't been a what the hell? Surface
fundamental
regurgitating clown shoes. Hasn't been a force, end quote you, for 109 years. Let's quote a few of your globe earth clown shoes professors, like George Musa. Gravity is not a force. What about Brian Cox? There is no force of gravity at all. So you, being the high school educated Dumbo that obviously hasn't gone through any scientific education to understand the quasi pseudo-Riemannian force space time bending that is, quote, not a force. You think there's a force. That's because you're stupid.
Tracks objects towards the center of the Earth. It's
not for 109 years. You stupid idiot.
What gives us weight and keeps the atmosphere around our planet.
Atmo what now? Atmo, that's air. Sphere, a shape. That's oxymoronic. Air does not take the shape of a sphere. Air, gases, take the shape of whatever containment they have. You can describe the process of their dispersion into any available volume with the second law of thermodynamics. Something you are obviously unfamiliar with given that you've just described oxymoronic sphere-shaped air. Air gases don't take the shape of a sphere. They don't take shape. They fill the container they're in. Maybe you'd like to present me with a sphere-shaped fart. You think you could do that, son? Oh, what's that? Gases don't take shapes? In your mind, their oxymoronic sphere-shaped air stands next to a vacuum with it not dispersing into it. Because what? We've got a force of gravity, have we? So gas go down, go boom, boom, go splash, splash. No, I already explained this. It comes up from the ground and moves away from it. That's up. Yeah, there is no sphere-shaped air. There is no gravity. Hasn't been a force for 109 years. And bent pseudo-Riemannian space-time won't be holding gases next to a sky vacuum.
Planet. Experiments such as the Cavendish...
At the start of the video, he said it was a shame or a problem that there was a lot of misinformation. So hopefully he's going to apologise to his own audience that he's the one now punting it.
Yeah, he's just said Cavendish experiment. Well, clown shoes, you'll be able to provide the independent and dependent variable based on the natural phenomena and presumed cause that was in effect in this hypothesis actualization, otherwise known as experiment, then, won't you? Oh no, it's not like we've spent 10 years pointing out that this has no naturally occurring phenomena, because 109 years ago this was debunked by Einstein. Yet gas has mass. Does mass move to the mass of Earth when it's gas? In this stupid worldview? No, you can't even define mass. Why is it mole inertia? No. Meanwhile, it hasn't been a force for 109 years, and is debunked with a fart. Yet the mass of the gas in your expelled air, gases, will not move to the centre of Earth. They'll disperse through your horrible home, letting everyone know how dirty and smelly you are. Because gas fills space. It doesn't move to the mass of Earth. We haven't got puddles of gas. You think that two bulls strung in a shed, as described by CV Boys, Reverend John Michel Cavendish, and who's the other guy? Boys, Cavendish, and...
Michelle.
Michelle. And John Michel. No, Cavendish. CV Boys. Who's the other one? John Michel.
It's Reverend John Michel, Cavendish, and CV Boys.
Okay. Right. These are the clowns that have given you the now 109-year out of date. Oh, thank you. Thank you, God. I've been stuck on that point for about 5 minutes.
Oh, I would have said you out there. You don't need to eat, what?
Oh, I'm sorry, Brian. I was on a roll too. Anyway, there's no force of gravity. It hasn't been a force for 109 years. You're obviously only educated to a high school level. Otherwise, you'd know about bent 4D space-time, which you don't.
Experiment have measured gravitational attraction and confirmed its existence.
It's been debunked for 109 years. Einstein superseded it with bent pseudo-Riemannian space-time that is, quote, not a force.
Density and buoyancy explain why objects float or sink in fluid.
This guy's brilliant. We've got gravity. It's been proven by the Cavendish experiment, notwithstanding the fact that it's been debunked by Einstein 109 years ago. Meanwhile, buoyancy. Yeah, why are you offering up an alternative explanation when you've just categorically and incorrectly described the force of gravity? Now you're going to give us the actual explanation. Is this more ball jitsu?
But it's just our belief.
But gravity is the underlying force that...
Again, chocolate. Again,
It wasn't chocolate, it was Brian, and everyone's mic sounds like a disaster.
No, real quick. Didn't he say that flat earthers were the ones who said gravity don't exist? It's density and buoyancy?
Yes.
Is he about to back that up right now?
Yes.
Well, what he actually said was that buoyancy was basically density and buoyancy, and the reason for that we say that we hold a belief that the reason that things go up or go down is because of density and buoyancy. He said that's just our belief. That's what he said, and now he's appealing to it.
That pulls everything towards the Earth.
I'm going to wait longer.
I'm just saying you don't need QE at all.
Your surplus to requirements. You hear that, QE? Brian's your replacement now.
There's a lot of
Brian.
corrections coming. There's a lot of corrections coming.
For Brian, I hope.
Myth number 5, the Antarctic ice wall. Now, flat earthers believe that there's enormous ice wall.
And there it is. For all my credit, right at the beginning of his careful wording, now it's just boiled back down to the baseless stereotype fallacy that all flat earthers think there's an ice wall. That's what he just said. You disappoint me. Like I give a crap.
Surrounding Antarctica that prevents people from falling off the edge of the...
What, the one that the boats fall over? Oh yeah, that would be your edge. The one that we can't see unless we go to the space vacuum in your cartoon. But we also can qualify it with the distance based on 1.2 times the square root of the observer sine feet when we ignore perspective. But we've also got perspective. Okay, gotcha. But it also is, you know, balls with gravity holding men to it with a force that isn't a force, but you can think of as a force that's bent 4D space-time. Gotcha. But it's also buoyancy. Gotcha. We're all clear. We've got it all squared away.
The Earth. In reality, Antarctica is a continent. It's covered by a massive ice sheet. The Antarctic Treaty System protects the region for scientific research, and numerous expeditions have explored it thoroughly.
And therefore...
Satellite imagery and data from these expeditions reveal that...
Sorry, the satellite data from the expeditions... Why do Dumbos phrase things like this? So, from what I can glean at face value, the words he's just said is that there's satellites producing the expedition data. Yeah? The satellites in Antarctica. That's what he's just said, isn't it?
Antarctica is a landmass and it's not a barrier. The idea of...
Because you've been there, you surveyed it, you checked it out. Why?
Ice wall is a misinterpretation of the continent's ice-covered geography.
It's a misinterpretation. I mean, I didn't claim it. You just said flat earthers claim this. No, I do not. Yeah? It's like the T-shirt and hat that you get when you arrive at this subject. You're given your T-shirt, given your hat, and given your Gleason's map and sent on your way. And therefore you decided that we all now say there's an ice wall because the propaganda, the surface puke that you're now regurgitating, says we all say that.
To sum up, we've looked at several common...
Right, do I need a summary? Really? It's a 5-minute video, and in spite of all your padding, you didn't even make it to the 8-minute ad revenue limit. But you think we need a summary? I'm pretty sure we got what you said. We didn't need a summary. We also didn't need an introduction at 44 seconds telling us that we're about to start after you babbled on about nothing. This has nothing in it. This is useless.
Flat Earth believes, and we...
Sorry, now we've got what Flat Earth believes. Okay, I don't know what to say.
Use scientific evidence and logical reasoning to explain why what's what, and it's important to approach such claims with a critical mind.
Sorry, there's 3 sentence fragments there. I mean, as sentence fragments go, it was beautiful, but that not semblance of any understanding could have been gleaned by an audience member from what you just said, my friend.
This wall is a misinterpretation of the continent's ice-covered geography. To sum up, we've looked at several common flat Earth beliefs, and we've used scientific evidence and logical reasoning to explain why what's what, and it's important to...
We've used scientific evidence and logical reasoning to explain what's what. Wow, that's profound.
It's amazing that the defense of the globe has become such a prominent industry that people all over the place just pick up that mantle, say, look, I'm going to defend the globe, and then come out with 5-10 minute videos just spouting nonsense and thinking that they're doing something. How many views does this video have?
A couple of thousand. It's a day old.
Wow. I mean, you know what it is? It's that people are of the belief that if you're defending the globe, then you're using logic, and you're defending it with scientific evidence. Because this is the problem, isn't it? They're told that anything that's not globe is not scientific evidence and is not logic. So if you're defending globe, you're automatically on the right side of the fence in their minds.
This topic has nothing to do with scientific evidence, nothing to do with logic. It's pure geometry. This guy's a pretender clown, delusional Dunning-Kruger numpty that just offered himself in sacrifice on the delusional Dunning-Kruger altar. Thanks.
Well, let's see if we can trigger you a little bit more. Kiwi.
Yeah, I could have told you that, Nathan, as well. But, I mean, if you want to know that, just let me know. You don't need Kiwi.
Ah, that was a good summary, lads.
We can't know exactly where a particle is and how fast it's moving at the same time. So looking at one changes the other. So we are unsure about that. Number 2.
That was his summary of quantum mechanics.
Yeah, I don't think we want to listen to him speak to quantum mechanics.
Oh, I think we do. I think we do.
2 is quantum entanglement. This is when particles are connected to each other, and what happens to one, it affects the other. No matter how far apart they are from each other, it affects both of them at the same time. Number 3.
At the same time? I'm not triggering Kiwi. He's not biting at all, is he? I'll give up.
Probably walked away.
Just ask me, Nathan. You don't need that, Kiwi.
We don't need him, do we, Brian? You're right. There's a mutiny going on. No, I'm going to draw a line under it there.
It's just a typical numpty heap of naught in the video.
Hi, everyone.
Isn't it?
Yeah, but what I am going to do is invite my audience to go and give him a like, give him a share, subscribe him, leave him a comment, all the stuff that you would do to help someone in the YouTube algorithm, with the vague hope that somebody we do these videos for will leave a link to our video and offer us the same love that we are offering them when we send our audiences to them. So I would encourage you to do exactly that if you are currently watching in the Nathan Oakley 1980 live stream, or if there happens to be a moderator around, or if you're watching this after the fact on an after show, go and click on the link that they've posted and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Leave him a nice comment, be polite. Hopefully you won't scrub it because you're swearing and shouting at him or calling him foolish. But he'll know, and then if he does do a response and tell us that I'm wrong when I say we haven't had a force of gravity for 109 years, and he corrects me on the demonstrable scientific evidence of that gravity, he'd put a link to my video. We would hope. Anyway, please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. The name of the videographer is Tektali, sorry. And the video we were covering was called Discovering the Top 5 Bizarre Beliefs of Flat Earthers. There you go, check him out.
It was a great laugh, thank you.
It should be labelled beliefs that globe earthers have about the things that flat earthers believe.
Yeah, that's exactly, that is spot on. The top 5 beliefs I, as a glober, have in place in my mind that flat earthers hold.
Top 5 beliefs that I hold of flat Earth flags.
It's akin to saying, here's my, and I'm an Englishman, top 5 Australian favourite foods, based on what I know about Australians, having never lived there. So here they are. Number 1, Australians love to throw shrimp on the barbie.
Number 2, kangaroo burgers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, number 2, kangaroo burgers. Exactly. Ever tasted wallaby? Well, Australians love it at number 3. Yeah, it's just garbage. They're stereotypes of what they say we like and dislike and believe in.
So there's, Nathan, 2.3 thousand views and only 7
Hold on a
comments,
second.
and all of them are from
Hold
us.
on a second.
It's one of the
Hold
mods.
on a second.
It's one of
Chuck
the mods.
was rumpusing in the background.
Mush.
Wow. I thought you were saying, hold on a second for me. Oh, but I'm the rumpus.
You're already in an elevated position in the G Plus panel. You know that. Don't pretend that you're in the peanut gallery. Chocolate. Sorry, Mush. Go ahead.
Just wanted to say 2.3 thousand views with only 7 comments, and all 7 comments are from us, telling him to review Nathan Oakley. I mean, to check out Nathan Oakley.
Yeah, I know.
Only
They're
7 comments.
algorithmically favoured. And, you know, this guy may have only been around for a short amount of time and has outstripped me in terms of views. But it's really irrelevant. I mean, it is utterly irrelevant when you look at what YouTube
No, I'm
actually...
talking about comments. There's only 7 comments on the whole video, and all of us, they're all from us.
Yeah, it had 0 comments at the point that I just reviewed it. So if I refresh it now, it's presumably going to have a whole bunch of comments from people on our own side. Yeah.
I think what Mush is pointing out is it's illogical that could happen, that there's 3,000 people who could watch a video and not leave a comment. That's mathematically unfavourable.
It's usually 100 to 1 statistically. That is to say that for every 100 people that watch, you'll get 1 comment. So if you get a 1,000 view video, if I have 1,000 views, I'd expect 10 comments on it. Now, realistically, that's a low average. More likely than not, people like myself and Brian massively outstrip that general average. Brian, if you were to look at the statistics of views to comments and go and check out Brian's videos, there are many times that he has more comments than views, and it will just stay like that.
Well, actually, if you go look at the stats of my channel and my videos, views in relation to subscribers, and then the amount of comments I get along with that, technically, I have the most popular channel in the world. If you know what I mean? From a stats point of view. But I don't. I hardly anyone knows who I am.
Well, you can twist the stats. People do it all the time with me. They tell me whose stats are better than mine, and they'll compare the last 3 or 4 videos of a particular videographer. So most recently it was Jaren. They're like, look, Jaren's got this many views on his last 3 videos, and you've got this many views on your last 3 videos. He's doing better. I'm like, Jaren's got, I think it's 5 million views total, and I've got 8 million views total. And what do you think YouTube care about? Well, they only care about how long you spend on their website. They don't care if you come along, click subscribe on something, and go and watch TikTok. They want you to stay on their website for as long as possible. So the only metric that is actually of any concern to anybody is that. And that is measured in watch time. Watch time is directly connected to views. Obviously, you can't have watch time unless someone's viewing it. So those are the metrics that are of interest. Watch time, more importantly than anything, but views is connected to it. Not subscribers.
What was I going to say? If Adam is around, there's something I want to bring up.
Before you get to that, I want to bring something else up.
Well, can you do your points of order after I shout Michael Kahn out for a super chat? He says, there's an island in Scotland home to wallabies. Bit of useless information for ye. Thank you, Michael Kahn. They also enjoy wallaby burgers in Scotland, so I hear. It's not quite a stereotype, but they'll eat anything. They're savages. Thank you for the super chat. I'm just joking. I don't actually think the Scottish are savages. It was a joke. Anyway, go ahead, Kiwi.
Sorry, Brian, this will be real quick. Is Neil here? Oh, Neil.
Not if I'm in trouble.
You're not in trouble. I got a question.
Go ahead.
How is explaining a topic and then finishing up that topic and then handing off to another panel member to explain another topic the same as a glue sniffer coming in with color commentary saying correct? How are they the
Well,
same?
no, I'm not talking about the correct. I'm not talking about that. You brought up the other thing, like you hate when somebody says, "Isn't that right, Brian?" When I brought up something for him to add on to.
What?
That's not correct.
Oh, God. You're off the reservation.
No, I'm glad he was so hyper specific. I follow along completely with what he's saying.
Listen,
Okay.
General, you were busted.
You couldn't
Mutiny,
bust a soup sandwich. It was non sequitur times 1,000.
mutiny and belligerent.
Snake! Snake! Snake!
What was that
Go ahead,
all about?
Brian.
Explain that to me. Who said that? I didn't understand that super chat.
Adam.
It's when you die
Oh,
at
it's
the end of
Metal Gear
Solid.
Solid.
Yeah.
It's not Snake, it's Snape, isn't it?
Oh, Snake.
Is he called Snake?
Yeah, he's Snake. Yeah.
Oh, it's a long time since I played Metal Gear Solid. It was on the PlayStation in like 1999, so it's been a long time. I thought he was called Snape for some reason, but he's actually called. It's what they say every time you die in Metal Gear Solid. The overdubbed voice that's done the recording would cry out your name 3 times, like I did for Brian. Snake, Snake, Snake. Exactly. Now, thank you. I'm glad you explained that.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Brian.
Yeah, I was listening to Flat Earth Banjo, one of his videos there last night. And he does these things where he pulls things from TikTok, right? And it was nonsense. You know, people discovering things, TikTok people discovering things that was discovered in this arena 9 years ago. You know, did you know that NASA done this? It's like, yeah, we are fully aware, right? They're completely, because Gen Z are on TikTok, they're completely oblivious to what has already been known. But there was this this part where there was a debate with this Australian lad was having a debate with this Australian commercial pilot. And everything was going fine. The commercial pilot was getting nowhere till it came to the mathematics. Then they were both wrong. But what happened was, this is why I'm calling Adam in, is the man, the flat earther said, he said, if you're flying at 500 miles per hour or something like that, or 600 miles per hour or something like that, I think it was 600, sorry, that what would happen is after a minute of flight, there'll be a mile of, you'll have to account for 1 mile of drop, which was completely wrong. But the pilot then said to him, he said, no, it's not. It's 8 inches, right? So both of them have the maths completely wrong, right? But the problem is that Adam and me both focus on the pitch, right, degrees and the accumulation of the pitch. And we can go into the amount of drop, but the only way to really describe the amount of drop normally is how the guy was describing it, as an average. Now, the average for 600 miles per hour would be 4,000 feet a minute as an average, but it would be 4,000 feet within the first minute because it's going to be an accumulated amount. So the reason I'm bringing it up is because it's like the argument about or how to describe the amount of drop or anything like that an airplane would have to account for, an airplane pilot would have to account for when they're flying over a globe, is that when you try to describe it as an average, if you don't say as an average, you end up looking really bad. And this is what happened to this flat earther. Even though he won, he ended up looking bad. Now, but partially only because the pilot didn't understand the maths either. But
it's Adam and I.
Yeah, Adam and I. But the point was the pilot then started saying you'd only have to dip the nose 8 inches every so often or every mile. And he thought he was okay with that. Whereas even though that is wrong, it's 8 inches per mile squared, even though it's a square function, the point is that 8 inches means that the pilot is still going to be eventually pitching below horizontal.
Right.
If
Even
you
if he
keep
doesn't,
pitching below, you know what I mean? It's only a matter of
even if
time
he doesn't
before you're
take the
pitching below horizontal.
regardless of if he accounts for the accumulation correctly, a drop's a drop. You've got to account for it. You're not.
Yeah, it was just this flat out stuff going on.
It's a less coherent microcosm of the argument between me and Adam. I'm sorry, Adam and I.
Far more or less coherent. Oh yeah,
Myself and Adam.
Adam and I.
Within QE's argument, he does that exact specification on average of 1 hour's straight level flight. That's what gives you that level of drop. What the pilot's trying to do there, and thinks he's solving the problem by just mitigating for any gaining altitude by straight level flight. He thinks, and he's right. I think it'd be if it's 600 miles an hour, then that's 10 miles a minute, isn't it? So that's 66 feet. And in the pilot's mind, if all he's got to do is trim 66 foot every minute, he thinks that's doable. And if you are mitigating every minute, then the cumulative effect, it diminishes. For example, if I went 10 minutes, it's not going to be 10 times that, is it? It's going to be 100 times 100 times 8 divided by 12. So it's 6,666 feet if I went 10 minutes. So you can see how the cumulative effect of the curvature builds up if you don't accommodate for it constantly. And that's how the pilot's resolving it in his mind. That's separate to the point that me and Brian make. Brian's being the aeronautics, mine being fundamental that the reason the aeronautics would change is because the direction of down is changing relative to your straight line vector of flight. And it's that has to be mitigated for by nosing down to realign the plane, not just to drop its altitude, but to physically realign it. That has to be done and can only be done by a negative pitch angle.
I was about to say, have you seen the concessions that Brian's been getting? Have you been reading his messages?
Other than he won't be able to read it, understand it, and it won't show.
It won't be there. Exactly. Exactly.
Well, no, what I've been getting recently, Adam, is that from a commercial pilot on the Globe side, and I'm getting it from just random ballers constantly. Why do you expect to see any dip below the horizontal? This is what I'm getting. There won't be any dip. So why are you expecting to see any dip
Sound
below
familiar?
the horizontal?
We wouldn't expect to see Earth curve. Nobody's expecting to see Earth curve. Nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve. Sound familiar? Nobody's expecting to see drop as we travel over the flat plane. That's why it's a globe.
Yeah, it was funny because this pilot thought that because he had the maths wrong for a start, he thought it was just 8 inches. He had the maths wrong, but the point is that even if you just went off of those maths, it's only a matter of time before he has a below horizontal pitch, and he's losing lift. He's not even thinking about that because in his own mind, cognitively, he's after solving the problem by putting himself mathematically going around the globe, as opposed to that translating into what he actually does.
Yep. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow.
See everyone. Take care.
See you later.
Book today?
Monday.
It is Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Why'd you
that
ask?
was a coherent exchange.
With who?
But let's start this over. Book today?
Monday.
Oh, God.
Glad we got that
Is
squared
it
away.
book day?
Book today?
Monday. What's your problem? It's not QE live day. That's tomorrow. You've killed the conversation with that question, QE.
65 marbles?
What is it, 5 minutes to Wapner?
Yes, things are getting nice and weird.
It's too hot in here for this.
What do you know about heat?
I know it's hot.
I feel bad going over that guy's video today because it's pretty clear that he's, as I described it, surface puke regurgitator. Now, I know that you said, well, you've just lined yourself up and dropped yourself into the numpty dipshit barrel for us to shoot, right? Why did they do it?
Yep. Because flat. Look, it's what's going on, right? Because flat Earth is becoming more mainstream. Like we said, because all the places it's starting to pop up. So all these people are like, hey, I'm looking for something to talk about on my channel. Why not this? Right? The same way you did it 10 years ago. You were like, this seems to be an interesting topic, an evergreen topic, like you like to call it, right? So the people are probably doing the same thing, except they're on the globe side.
Fair enough.
Easy.
I think I was going to say something similar earlier, and I think there was probably a better time to say it after what Doug said. Is that there's people out there who look for what topic? I need a topic for a video, right? They go, oh, flat Earth, that'll be an easy topic, not realizing that they're committing YouTube suicide. You know what I mean? Because when you not only are you then associated with the algorithm of flat Earth, which is the worst algorithm in the history of the internet, but also you're going to be heavily corrected by flat earthers. Which is going to make you look bad to an audience. If somebody goes and watches his video, then sees in the comments Nathan Oakley responded, what's going to happen if they do come here? They're going to go, hang on a minute. This is not what that guy was portraying. So that guy then loses credibility because he's shown to not be able to research correctly.
You're asking why stupid humans do things?
What day is it?
Book day.
It's today.
We're doing that a bit later, yeah?
We could if you wanted to. Have you told the other people among the panel?
No.
You haven't? Okay.
But I will. There's been a bit of a setback. But I'll explain that when we're off air.
I expected that.
Of course you did, Brian, because you're
You did,
Mr.
you
Optimism.
did. You did Saturday night, I think. Was it got
Did he?
well?
I expected
didn't hear
Adam
him.
would say that.
I didn't hear him. Of course, I wasn't here the whole time, so he could have squeezed it in.
Is he okay?
Neil, Nathan said we'll discuss it later.
Oh, sorry, I stepped away.
Correct.
Affirmative.
But yeah, we'll carry on with it. It just means our workload goes up a little bit. That's all, Neil. It's nothing for us particularly to concern ourselves with. I mean, it is, but yeah. Anyway, let's discuss it later.
I'm sort of free all week.
Then we'll get a lot done. You're doing a show tomorrow, though, right?
I am.
Okay. What I might do in that case is round out this show, and then we'll reconvene in a couple of hours. Is that good by you?
Yeah. Adam? Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much free for the rest of today, so.
Okay. If we reconvene in a couple of hours, that gives me a time to recharge. 6 o'clock. Right, with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and to